1, 2.
2 drinks.
All right. Welcome to the Damaged Goods podcast. I'm Jess Robert, and this is Ill Vibe. He is my husband of 1 month and 7 days now. I wonder when we're gonna stop talking about the wedding. It just feels like it's still so fresh. I want to mention it every time.
Yeah, no, we just got married. We're newlyweds.
Yeah.
They have a whole word for that,
It's true.
and I'm enjoying it.
How long does it take until we're not newlyweds?
The first year, right?
Yeah, at least the first year.
First year is you need to have extra quantity and quality sex with me because we're newlyweds. You haven't lived up to it yet, but we'll talk
I feel
about
like
that.
I could go till 5.
Sorry?
I feel
5
like
years?
I could go till 5 years.
Wow, I could really go for that newlywed energy for 5 more years.
We might lose some listeners if we talk about being married for
Yeah,
the
they're
next
gonna
5.
hate you.
Yeah.
after a while.
Big thanks, as always, to lyricvids.com, the web's #1 lyric video animation company. You can check us out at Damaged Goods Pod on all social media. We have a very special guest today, longtime friend, short-time business partner, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point during this podcast. Recording
Short time,
artist,
but not small time.
No, short time. Recording artist, songwriter, Graydon Welbourn.
Hey.
What up? What up? Happy to be here. This is awesome.
So Grady's been one of our listeners too since the
Graydon.
beginning.
I'm just kidding.
Does nobody call you Grady?
No, it's Graydon now.
Do you know what's
Everyone
funny?
still does that though. It's okay.
Do you know what's funny? I do have this thing where if I started calling somebody a name, even if they tell me oh, it's this now, it's really hard. I shouldn't
you
say
revert
that.
back.
I have this thing. I'm sure a lot of people have that thing,
yeah,
totally.
but it's really hard. Like my friend Dara, everyone calls her Bunny now. Every single person, and I think because it seems really nicknamey to me too, it's really hard to switch over to Bunny. But literally, they're like, no one calls her Dara anymore, and I'm
stop
like,
dead naming her, babe.
yeah, I know it's real. It's hard. So, anyways, I'm sorry.
No,
Graydon.
no. I actually don't take offense to it.
It
at all.
took
It's
me-
totally fine.
No, Graydon's good because it took me a little while to get past Johnny Active.
Yeah.
Because when I first met you, you were a young, hungry, aspiring rapper to be
I
who had
was.
moved to Toronto to make it in the music business. Legit, when I met you, you still had the ticket hanging out of your blue jeans. You were.
Oh, yeah.
What's that? There's the stick and bindle or whatever. You had just arrived, and you were as fresh
I had
faced as they
business
came.
cards and CDs everywhere I went. I had
Yeah.
a backpack full of albums and a pocket full of very
And a pocket full of-
overexpensive
and dreams, baby.
Yeah.
dreams,
Pocket full of dreams.
pocket full of dreams, and very expensive business cards that had curved edges because I thought that would make the difference.
It's fancy.
It did. It made the difference in our friendship. Yeah. And you went by the fresh faced name of Johnny Active.
Yes,
And you took a hiatus in music and have recently come back, as Jess alluded to, as our business partners at Heavy Aux Records, and we can talk more about what you're doing musically. But it took me a minute that when we were started kind of kicking your music back off to stop calling you Johnny. That just took me a
Yeah.
second. And I think I've done a good job now.
no, you're really good. You're
It's
actually
great.
one of the best because you'd correct yourself. You'd be like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that."
The Graydon name is really cool. So it's
Thank you.
a lot of rappers. Here's the thing no one talks about. When you want to become a rapper, we don't all have the same stuff to work with. My name was Anthony Crapperata. There was nothing to really work
crap.
with for a rap name.
That was a
You know what I
bad
mean?
joke.
So yeah.
All right. Low hanging fruit, but it's okay.
Low-hanging fruit. That's where we're starting today.
But yeah, so I remember I took the name Ill Vibe and I never looked back again. And Graydon's such a dope name, but Johnny Active is a name. So then when eventually you said, "Oh, yo, I'm thinking about going with Graydon," I'm like, "Yeah, your real name is." It's the sexiest man name I know.
Yeah.
Johnny is just. I mean,
I hated it for so long growing up. I hated it because I was born Grady, and then when I was 10, I don't know, something happened. My dad was like, "No, we need to give him a man name."
Oh, really?
So then they went and they got it all changed.
I didn't know they could do
all
that.
the documentation. I had a new passport. I had a new everything, and it was spelt differently too. It was Gradon, and then they were like, "We don't like the spelling.
No.
We're changing it again." So they made it Graydon, Graydon.
I'm really glad you never told me that. I would probably have judged your parents harshly if you told me. I'm joking. I just mean it's just think of we changed your name. As traumatizing as that was, we need to sit you down again, and we're gonna do it all again because it add a Y.
But
granted, I'm joking. But I just mean, when you were a kid and a name change seems like a
I
big
was
deal.
annoyed. I was like, "Well, I don't even use that name, so I don't care."
Yeah.
And then my mom was
That's
always like, "One day
hilarious.
you'll be happy," and I was like, "Nah, I'm Grady."
So, are you happy?
yeah, totally.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's weird because the only people that call me Grady is my mom and my dad, and then my high school friends that have moved to Toronto.
Sure.
And occasionally Tynan calls me
Yeah.
Grady.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And me.
Like Jen's never called me Graydon. Jen's never called me Grady.
She knows you as Graydon.
Yeah, exactly. Like she met me as Graydon, which is weird because the names in my, like me having these different names in my life is actually, there's different chapters. There's like the Grady chapter, the Johnny Active chapter, and then I'm in the
Interesting.
Graydon chapter. Because people
Ever
literally
any gray?
I just use gray at Starbucks now. That's it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
To just order drinks. I just say gray because if I say Graydon, they're like,
I think that Gray is a sexier short form for Graydon than Grady is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Grady's like young. Gray
Grady's
is like
young.
mature.
Yeah,
and,
because
like,
it's the D, it's the E sound
Yeah, you're right.
that makes it young.
Joey, like Mikey.
Yeah.
Hey, Mikey. Hey, Mikey.
one thing that you never get called is Tony.
Hey,
eh?
Tony.
No Tony for you.
I nipped that in the bud.
Yeah,
I said nip that in the butt for most of my life, but I know it's bud now because I'm a grown up. Yeah, I nipped that in the bud right away. I'm not a big fan of Tony.
No,
To
you're
me,
not a
and
Tony.
here's the thing: I'm not racist, but the people I am most racist against are my own people, the Italians. Because I grew up around them. I'm half Italian. I'm half Sicilian to be exact. And so I grew up around them, and I love my Italian family. But they do a lot of crazy shit.
They do a lot of Tony stuff.
Oh, bro, they be doing some Tony shit, and I'm not trying. And honestly, like I always
Tony.
To
early
New
on,
York.
I disassociated quickly. I'm like, it's Anthony. Anthony is mature and sexy. Tony is the guy who fixes your car and maybe hits his girlfriend. And so
Yeah.
I got away from. I got away from
Anthony
Tony
dresses
really young.
well. Tony's in. Yeah.
When Tony gets out of prison, he starts calling himself Anthony to get a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anthony does this like creepy voice. It's kind of similar to the hormone monster from Big Mouth.
Touch you so good.
And when he does that voice, I call him Tony,
Tony.
because it's
That's his
definitely
Tony
like,
voice.
yeah, that's his
That makes
Tony.
sense.
Fresh out of prison, need a job.
I'm Anthony.
I need to get LinkedIn.
Anthony.
One memory I have from the first time I met you is we went camping.
Yes.
With
That
Tynan,
was
which we talked
early.
about on Tynan's podcast
Did we talk
too.
about it?
Yeah, we talked about doing the shrooms.
When you guys
and
talked
the-
about it, I was like trying. I wanted to like talk
It's good
too,
that
but I
remember
knew
what
you
we
guys
talked
couldn't
about,
hear
'cause
me.
I don't remember.
Yeah. But oddly enough, I have this weird memory of you talking about being a young rapper and having like a girlfriend or whatever, and she'd invite you to like a house party, and then all of her friends would be like, "Oh, like, can you rap for us?" And you'd be like, "No, no," and then
Yeah.
finally you'd do it, and then you'd feel so dirty
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah. It's like, oh, it's so weird. It's such a real thing. You do it, and then you're like, it's almost like it's. I've tried to explain this, and it's hard to articulate, but it's almost like it's too real.
Yeah.
And it's too close and just raw that people aren't, a part of them doesn't expect you to do it, and then you do
yeah.
it, and then they're like, holy shit, he did it, and it's good, and now I'm uncomfortable because I don't know how to react to it.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
it's
you're
all
right.
these layers
Yeah,
of
what's like
things
the best
happening.
case scenario that they're just like, woo, like everybody applauds and like you crowd surf through the party?
Yeah,
like
even that's
there's really
weird.
no best case scenario.
There's
like,
no good scenario, like
Yeah.
because then it goes silent, and then some guy goes, "Man, you're actually good," and then by him saying that, he's telling you that he really thought you would be terrible.
Yeah, which is
And it's
in
like a
itself
backhanded
awkward.
compliment.
Yeah, you're right.
Did you ever do this for?
I have one. So you know my rule on this. What's my rule on this?
You don't do it.
I don't never ever do it. It happens. I get asked a lot. I never do it. Everything from being in like a hair salon to like at a party, people are just like rap something. You know, Uber. Someone's
It's
like,
obnoxious.
Can you rap me something? It's like I'm not into it. But so one time I was dating a girl and I went back to her hometown. And people were. She was like the hot local popular girl from her town. I met her in college and we went back to her hometown. But that hometown was Perry Sound for little authenticity and details. So we went to this house party, and legit people were like, "It's the rapper," because this is around the time I was just getting my first little buzz going. I had opened for Busta Rhymes, and when you're like in college, that stuff means a little something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so all her friends were just like, "Oh, there's the rapper." And then her ex-boyfriend used to freestyle at parties, and so he was at this party, and they were like freestyling around the stereo system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I came by, and I was feeling myself because I was like with the hot popular girl at the party, and I'm the rapper coming in from the big city. You know what I mean? And so they're all just like, "Will you rap?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna rap. I'm not gonna rap." And at the end of the night, I rapped like one verse, and legitimately, I heard somebody say to her ex-boyfriend, "Yeah, but he does it professionally." Like he's just like a drunk party rapper.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I feel bad.
That would happen to me so much in high school at parties. There would be guys that were drunk freestyle rapping, and then they'd be like, "Grady," because that was my name back then. They'd be like, "Grady, come rap with us," and I would be like, like they don't really do it. Like I do it. Like I do this. So, I would be like offended that, it's like someone, I mean, this is a bad analogy, but like in the NBA just playing like,
Hey,
street
LeBron, you
ball.
want to come shoot hoops in my driveway?
Yeah,
Totally.
it's like, no, I don't want to do that. And like,
Yeah, I totally get that.
That's the metaphor I use. I say, like, even if I'm the smallest player in the NBA,
exactly.
it's sort of insulting to be like, you want to come slam dunk on my... It's like, I'm enjoying this party right now. Just talking to my girl right here.
Or the one that, I don't know who's given me this analogy, but it's like, like, you're an accountant? Will you do my taxes right now? Will you look at them right now? Like,
And that's even less intense, because the thing that you said is about it being too real is very true. And that's why bad shows are so cringe. Like, I don't know if you notice it, but I'm very aware of awkwardness in a room, sometimes to the point that, like, even more than other people, because I feel myself starting to cringe and you haven't quite hit your cringe level yet. Mm-hmm. And then through you, I start realizing that not everyone's cringing yet, because often it does get there. But I'm very sensitive to it, where like I find myself looking away from the stage because they're doing like the call and response, but there's no one there to respond. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I'm just going, bro, quick math here.
Yeah.
50% of the audience is artists. There's no response.
Can we talk about call and response for one second?
Yeah, it's a good.
So just for people who don't know, and most of our listeners would, but more and more we're getting non-people who know me from my hip-hop stuff who listen to the podcast. And so that's like, when I say damaged, you say goods. Damaged?
Goods.
Damaged?
Goods.
That's call and response at a rap show.
Yes. I hate it so much. I
hate it.
rarely
I
think
hate
it's
it so
appropriate.
much, too.
Even if it's a huge show and it's really busy and everyone knows the song, there's a big difference between getting people to sing along the chorus with you and putting the microphone out. That's cool.
Yeah.
But call and response, where like saying something and then
It's
making them say the other thing.
for a beginning MC.
Yeah,
I think.
it's like when a comedian goes out on the stage and is just like, "How's everybody feeling tonight?" And just
It's
like
the same.
they're not
Do y'all
anybody
love
can do
Toronto?
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we chose to live here. Most of us choose to live in the
Yeah.
general Toronto area. So
And it's also like giving people in the audience work, and like sometimes I'll even I'm pretty
don't give homework. That's what I say.
yeah, and the way you said it is just like you look at me to see if I'm cringing yet. I'm actually pretty generous at like these small shows, and like I'll try to like, you know what I mean, watch an artist and be like, and try to find like the good in it, you know what I mean,
That's nice of you.
even if they're kind of green, But
kind
if
of
they,
green. She's the kindest, most gentle person I've ever heard. Even if they're kind of
Even
green.
if they are shitty.
Even if they're a shade of green.
But what I hate is if I'm in the front giving them their due respect, and then they start doing that, I'm like, well, now you're making me like act like I'm like loving you, and then like that's really uncomfortable for me, because I'm just like,
We've wandered into dangerous territory, guys.
Yeah.
Because this is a thing that I talked to you about, and I've been talking to my team about, and I live in this really bizarre spot, and I think you do too, but you didn't have as many years under your belt to make it a little bit less awkward for you.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting at is that at some points along the way, I fell out of love with many aspects of hip hop and the kind of hustle to make it in that lane specifically. And I spent, I think, the better part of my career coming to terms with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't listen to underground rap at all. When people, as soon as I hear the word underground rap, my brain like glazes over and I start like thinking of my to-do list for tomorrow. Like I have zero interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I went and played a hip hop festival where there's like underground hip hop icons I knew zero songs by. And it's because I never identified with like that, like we're going to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. It's like that, like gutter, like any hip hop that considers itself like gutter. I just didn't identify with it. And then so as I kind of started coming forward as a musician and a songwriter, I hit a point where I was surrounded by that. And that's not what I listen to. You know what I listen to. Even when I listen to hip hop, my favorite hip hop song of the year was Kendrick Love, which is damn near a Motown song with rap verses on it.
I remember there was a point in time where I was like, why is this guy around those, I don't want to say those guys, but like
okay.
I was just like, what this,
It's no specific people, it's just that sound.
No, I was just like, oh, it's weird because he's like, he makes music like that, but then everyone around him,
But there was no lane for that.
Exactly.
So, because this is the thing, I remember thinking to myself, because people say, who's your favorite rapper? Like, that's such a combo I find myself in. And in my head, I'm running through these like pop options to say, because that's what I listen to.
Especially
and I don't mean
now.
pop like the most sellout, like Tyga is one of my favorite artists, you know what I mean? But I just mean artists that sing, artists that are making songs that girls like. And I remember having to lie. And honestly, I said this to Jess the other day. I think I was kind of like a closeted pop star. not pop star in the way you picture Justin Timberlake. What I mean by that is
Yeah.
I always wanted to move forward in the pop lane and not pop.
You just didn't let yourself.
Pop has a there's a misunderstanding because you think Timberlake, and by the way, Timberlake went and saw me. It was fucking awesome. But anything that isn't hip hop or rock falls in that middle ground. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like pop R&B, pop soul, pop adult contemporary. You know what I mean? And that's the world. That's what I listen to. That's all I listen to. And even when I listen to hip hop, I listen to like with one foot in that lane and one foot in hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very rarely do you find me listening to someone that's hip hop.
Well,
you know what I
Drake
mean?
is pop music.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Urban pop. He's that
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the
Venn
like,
diagram.
Venn diagram. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hip hop is also changing. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like I think that. I mean, there's still going to always be like underground hip hop and stuff, but I think
100%.
like
Yeah.
as far as like mainstream hip hop, it's all getting a little more like
Musical.
musical, melodies and
Melody driven for sure.
Yeah.
And that's makes me so fucking happy. And that's the thing. I really don't identify with my peer group because everyone around me, certainly the ones my age in our 30s who've been doing this for 20 years, are like, what happened? It all went wrong. I'm like, finally!
Yeah.
Because this is like all I ever wanted was to dance and sing when I made music. Like if you go back to my early favorite hip hop songs, that's what I listened to. And certainly there's along the way, there's other artists who make more underground stuff. I fell in love with Pharoah Monch, Black Thought. Like I fell hard in love with their music.
but even
But
like
non-hip hop
Pharoah
fans
Monch-
do that too, right?
Yeah, and even Pharoah Monch too is still on the musical side
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
that type of hip hop.
Yeah, he's a genius who also makes musical hip hop,
Yeah.
right?
I remember, I think it was probably a couple years ago where I went back and I listened to the stuff that I had initially fell in love with.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't like this anymore.
No.
Can
There's
you give an
classics
example?
that I will always
Yes.
like.
And it
like
means something
Eminem,
too for what
Dr.
it
Dre,
was.
50
Yeah, yeah,
Cent,
yeah.
all that stuff. Classic. But then I listen to these like grimier
Yeah.
records where those are the rappers I wanted to be when I was 14. And I was like, oh, I don't like this at all as an
Yeah.
adult.
Yeah.
Not at
Well,
all.
one of
Because
my
it meant something
favorite
for you at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
totally.
but now I'm like, oh,
It's like
I
you-
just don't connect.
one of my favorite rappers is Dell, and I still love Dell. But if he came out now, like if he was just a new rapper now, I'd be like, ew, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, and he's
Interesting point,
amazing.
yeah.
Because art
but it's just very
exists within
like
the context it comes out in, right?
Yeah.
When hip hop came out, it was a answer to something else. If it came out now, it wouldn't fit as the answer to something
Yeah,
else. It would be
totally.
this kind of like juvenile version of this other thing that we all love.
Yeah.
It sounds very juvenile to me. And this is the last thing I want to add about my whole being a closeted pop artist is I listened back to some old music recently because we were playing a video for Jess's friends. We were all playing a Let's Watch Us from years ago video. And it wasn't that long. It was like 2014. Let's call that like when I was still in the closet. Okay. And
What song was it?
it was Waiting for Dorothy, where I was dressed as a lion, an old music video. And my voice on that song, I almost wanted to leave the room. Because it was like, the reason I keep going back to this closet metaphor is it was like I was like bags of sand. It was like I was trying to do something and I didn't know how silly it sounds. Because this is exactly what it sounds like. Yo, my name is, and I was trying to be this like raspy rapping guy.
Yeah.
Not at all making music that sounds like it's true to like something that's coming out of you. It just sounded
Right.
like I was doing a thing.
it's not
Interesting.
as bad as you think it is, but
No,
I know
it's
what
not as
you
bad
mean.
as you think it
But
is.
in comparison to where I've gone,
now, yeah, you're now like a more organic. Would that be
way
the right
more,
word? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
When I go in the
Natural.
booth, I just sing the best singing voice I can, and when I write as true as I can. Back then, that was not the formula I
Yeah.
was following.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the voice I use.
Now you're
I had that huge.
before
That's
you were
like the reason I stopped making music
Yeah.
was because I just like fell into this thing like, what am I doing?
You're just doing, like, an
I was
impression of all the
I'm just
things
doing an
you
impression
love,
of
yeah.
things that I like. Like at a
Yeah.
time, like I remember, and I had such a issue like breaking my mind away from like white rappers that were like cool.
Yeah.
Like G-Eazy, he came out and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like him. And then I was like, how can I be like him but kind of be like me? And that is you can't.
No.
Yeah.
It's like that's a fallacy
At the same time,
in the
it's
sentence.
also hard not to do that because it's like when you're looking to kind of build a brand, it's like you
Yeah.
have to look at what's succeeded. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So like
exactly.
you're
And-
looking at the things that did well and being like, hey, what can I take from that to kind of?
When you guys say this stuff, I'm honestly over here shaking my head because I'm mad at myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad that it took me so long to realize that's what I was doing. And it wasn't until after I stopped doing it that I was started able to make that realization. And I'm sure that there's something profound there that people are like, yeah, that's how growing works. So blah blah
Yeah,
blah. But still,
totally.
I made music. Imagine let's just thought experiment. Guy wants to be a famous dancer, dances for 15 years. On year 16, realizes he's been doing bad knockoffs of YouTube dances his whole life and never choreographing from his heart. That's embarrassing. And by the way, that's not for you guys to be like, yeah, Illy, you embarrass yourself. But internally, when I look at myself, I'm just like, how did I not realize it sooner?
But you learn the technical abilities.
When my new album comes out and when new music comes out, some people won't like it, some people will like it. Some people will like it more, and some people like it slightly less. I'm sure there'll be all responses. But there'll be one thing undeniable is it's way more inspired and way more like it's art. Is I'm actually making like a thing that like I can stand behind as like this little piece of art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I think for a while
it took me
you
a
were
long time to
rapping
get
and not
that.
making music.
Yeah, for sure.
You were rapping
And the only reason I say that's embarrassing is I cut my teeth as a kid to Motown. The first stuff I knew all the words to was like Motown vinyls.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like lost that somewhere in there. I got so caught up on like Jay-Z records than wanting to be Jay-Z that I lost like actually, you know what I mean? There's like this like quintessential like scientific moment where you actually create something from experience that's like super inspired.
Yeah.
And then there's the like, okay, I love this song. What if I did a version of that? And there's it immediately, without even being judgmental of if other people do that, just analyzing my own self, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And when I listen to those songs, it doesn't feel like somebody's putting his soul on the line on these records.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and that's what I'm doing now.
Just to make you feel a little bit less regretful and cringy or whatever it would be, is that I think
thanks for that.
coming from coming from like someone who met you 4.5 years ago or whatever,
in the middle of the exact phase. I'm
yeah,
talking about.
exactly. When that Waiting for Dorothy came out, you were still always something very like unique. And if you look
I
at
agree.
even if you look at Let Me Down, how old is that song?
Yeah, I was around then.
And that's like a bluesy.
Let Me Down.
That song's a good example of me
What about the one
finding
with,
it, but not
Tynan?
knowing what I had found.
That's Let Me Down. I think.
That's Let Me Down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first one.
And that's where
song
we
made
filmed the
together.
music video in the theater.
No.
That one's great
yeah.
too.
What's that one?
Yeah,
That's We're Going
it's
Down.
going down. One of my
Yeah,
many
that's
songs with the
going
word
down.
down in the title.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, you get him confused. That one was, I like that one. Like you can tell
and
there's
was
like
when
that
me and him
energy
first
there.
met.
Now,
So-
on that song, and Let Me Down too, I was just following the flow of whatever happened in the studio that day, and I think I stumbled onto it like blindly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That
Like-
happens. That will happen.
Like I wasn't a master yet, so I was stumbling onto it. And I'm not a master now, but I certainly have mastered like how to express myself in music and like it be a true expression of the whatever weird seed idea that was up here when I went into the studio that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyways,
Totally.
that's a huge like manic blurb, but it's a thing that like I've been talking to you about it like it's therapy. Like what's going on? I'm suddenly a different artist than I was 12 months ago. How do I address that? Where do I like what does that mean?
But it's good. It's like it's
How is that going
if
to
you were to
affect
draw like a
my
graph,
fan base?
it would make sense. To me, it would make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's not out of
One of my
nowhere.
fans said, because I've said I have new music coming in January. I haven't had new music since April. And one of my fans, who actually listened to this podcast, said, am I right that you've said that this is going to be more singing than rapping? He was just kind of clarifying or whatever. And I said, yes, but it is a natural evolution from Anti-Gravity. Like if you listen to Outside In, where it's like, always on the outside, you won't be that surprised by Watch It Burn. It's like kind of a step further down that road, but it's not like, whoa. I've never heard Illy do like a high voice. Like I've got songs like that on that album, but it's like I definitely take like all the rappia songs and like move them like into like the old tray of your like email inbox. That's a bad metaphor, but you know what I mean. I was trying to think like your old like file folder or whatever.
Range,
you know what I
but
mean?
we get what you're saying.
Mark that as old ill vibe. Anyways.
No, I think that it's a good evolution. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
I agree. You mentioned something throughout that rant that I wanted to circle back to, and that's like selling out and like what is selling out? Do you believe in selling out? What's the difference between just like progressing and
Can I
selling
take this
out?
one? I
Yes,
have a
absolutely.
thoughtful
I have
answer.
some
I do
things
believe
too.
music podcasts have like nailed this. It's like they're like probably the number one subject of music.
Oh,
podcasts.
really?
But
Sorry.
but I think we can cover it.
Yeah. Actually, can I say one more thing before you go into yours? So I thought about it recently because like Linkin Park, like last year or whatever, came out with like a pop song.
Super.
And
Did you hear it?
Like
No.
really, I
It's
almost
like,
wish I had
would
it
blow
queued
your
up.
mind
How poppy?
how pop it is.
Yeah.
It sounds
Like
like, an
Maroon
artist
5? Is it like
yeah, basically.
Yeah, that'd be a good comparison actually. And a lot of their old fans are like, oh, of course. And like every artist who comes out with an album where they try something a little different, their old fans are always freaking out and stuff. Can an artist? I know the answer to this, but I'd like to hear your. What you've got to say is like, can an artist progress in like a completely like 360 direction and have it not be selling?
Gray.
I think yes, obviously, as we were just talking about, like I think if it's a natural, real evolution, I think then that's
People can
fair.
tell, right?
I think people can always tell. People can sniff out authenticity really easily. And if it's a natural progression, then I think people are more likely to accept it, and it's not selling out. Like if you're not doing it for the purpose of, like Anthony just went on a 10-minute spiel about how he's doing it for the purpose of like his soul and himself.
10 minutes, guys. You can lay off.
How dare you rant on a podcast?
Your own podcast. I think you're doing it for the right reason. And like for myself, a part of me fell out of love of rapping, and now I'm singing more and I'm writing more things more authentically to myself. Still rapping, but I think as long as it's natural, it's not selling out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the official answer, as formally documented by music podcasts, is that when you do things solely for the purpose of that's what the things are trending, I think that's sort of the modern definition of sellout, the non-cynical definition of sellout.
That's the root.
You know, but I think the way the music industry's gone, it's actually become more and more okay to do that. You know, I attended a Spotify seminar where the Spotify executives actually said there's a new genre, an ever-changing genre, called Spotify Core. Like there's hardcore, and then there's like dreamcore and all these like subgenres.
What?
So something called Spotify Core, and what that means is it basically what is the algorithm selecting to the most, and labels can kind of follow that in real time because of what they're seeing on these playlists. And it's so for right now, it's kind of hey ho indie with the EDM edge. And I don't even have to give examples. You can think of 1,000 of like hey ho indie songs with an EDM edge, and that's Spotify Core. Over time, it will darken. It will become more singy or less singy depending on what the algorithm calls for. But they basically said that the algorithm is so strong and there's so much music being pumped through it that labels and music directors essentially all, without even talking about it, we all know what Spotify is selecting for, and so it's essentially choosing the direction. So that's the definition of selling out.
That's crazy.
And some of the biggest indie labels in the world are guilty of it. And so I think we've kind of moved to a world where selling out, if that's the definition, is such good business that you can't.
So let me ask you this.
You have to do it.
Let me ask you this.
To a
then.
degree.
So let's say
you have to do it to a degree.
Let's say you're a producer and you grew up with a very like eclectic mix of music. And it's kind of your music is your career, you know what I mean? And it's just like all of a sudden you feel like it's leaning in one direction. You're like, I like that direction too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like what? I don't see
You
the
didn't
problem.
used to be able to do it. Now I think you can.
Yeah, totally.
And there's two, because we always say, all people understand. We are talking about smart people. There's also the YouTube comments and Instagram comments segment of the internet who all go, fuck you for changing. That's like their immediate response. And on Twitter, you see it. Every time an artist changes at all, they get a fuck you for changing from a big piece of their fan base that are the small thinkers. And you just, honestly, you shrug and you move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's his name from Hootie and the Blowfish? He went country. Classic example. Hootie went country. Darius Rucker. I'm sure if you read his bio, he's from Nashville or whatever, and he probably listened to country as a kid. But that wasn't a natural evolution. It was blues rock, and then he completely just like picked up his bags and like went 2 states over and like became a new artist.
Yeah.
And is one of still a huge sell. I was gonna say best. He's not best selling, but he's one of their big selling artists in that genre. And people know full well it was a business decision.
Yeah.
That Darius Rucker was like, there's very few bands like Hootie and the Blowfish in that rich space. You know what I mean? That like indie, almost like jam band style, but like famous. Maroon 5 was kind of one of the last, and they kind of even became way more pop than that. And so Darius was like, I can play for another 40 years if I become a country singer. Pack the bags.
Yeah.
Head to Nashville.
And like there's this certain thing that rubs me the wrong way about like people trying to like own any type of artist and what they're able to do. Like
point.
whether that's like an actor who loses weight and they're like, oh, you were a lot funnier when you were fat.
Right.
And it's just like, well, now they're healthy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just hate it when anyone's just like trying to own that artist. Like we almost have any say in what that artist is allowed to produce. And you're allowed to not like their new stuff, but like saying that, like trying to make the, like put them down because they shifted directions, I think is really shitty. But
Absolutely. And if you consider what it would be like to be that artist, it's like, let's use the Linkin Park example. Because I think Linkin Park damn near invented, if not popularized, like that moody electronic rock thing.
They did.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, shout out to
And
them.
it's crazy. It's crazy to me that they don't want to put out or didn't want to put out 13 more of those albums in that time that we all would have listened to those albums. But if you really think about it for a moment, you play a little thought experiment, what would it be like to be a member of that band? And you'd be like, we've done that. For the 30 songs that we know for them,
You'd be sick of it.
They probably have 300 that they've done, and there's only so many synth sounds, and there's only so many guitar riffs, and they're probably like, yeah, I mean, we can do another one, and then they get in the studio and one of them starts making like islandy pop, and it's like, fuck, I have ideas for that. If you put yourself in those shoes and you have, let's say the number of Linkin Park casual fans is like 10 million people. I don't know what the number is. You go, we have 10 million people. I'd be curious what they'd think. I'm curious now about what they think about my evolutions.
Yeah.
Imagine you had 10 million people who knew about you. Like, if this got to be 10 million people.
Yeah.
We'd be sitting at the dinner table and being like, what if we launched like a news-style comedy show? It's like,
Yeah.
that's not what they come to us for. I'd be curious what 10 million people think of it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's easy to say why when you sit there with 0 followers, but if you had that much attention, you would want to throw the different things at it and get their feedback on your, or when like a rapper becomes like an actor, or an actor becomes a rapper. It's like, wouldn't you want to do all of the things?
Yeah, totally.
I love doing different things. For example, I want to make a neon sign. For some reason, I've got it in my head that I could make one. And that's not an art thing. No one ever hate me for it. But imagine they did. They were just like, oh, there goes Illy again, thinking he can just make neon signs.
Are you just giving this an example, or do you want to?
No, because when before Graydon bought us this sign, for the people who didn't mention this, Graydon and some of our other friends bought us this sign. 3 of the 4 of you have now been on the podcast. Jen will have to come on some point just to
Yeah, we'll have to.
wrap it
Yeah,
up.
that makes sense.
But before that, I was actually looking at to get one for the Heavy Aux office, and when I saw it, and pretty quickly you look and you're like, oh, it's like 3 pieces. I wonder if you could ever make something like that. And so it was just on I looked up tutorials about how you would make a neon sign. It's just an example of something that maybe as an old man I'll do, but to draw the line between if I wanted to act, fuck you, that's crazy. But if I want to make a sign, that's a great hobby. You know what I mean? It's like we draw these stupid lines so often.
And also the people that are making those choices have been making those choices their whole life. Because Linkin Park, at some point, a bunch of people around them said, oh, don't do this, man.
Yes.
This is a bad idea, man. And they're like, well, then they're like, bro, you're just a bartender. Or whatever. Or you're just a whatever.
Yeah.
Or you're just a salesman
Kanye,
or something.
you're just a producer.
Yeah, exactly. And it just...
one of the things I've said to Jess before, I'm actually trying to get better at stop saying I've said to Jess because I've said fucking everything to
I know,
Jess.
it's hard not to do that.
Is once you see something as impossible and people tell you no, and let's say that you do a kind of look around your universe and you do a little, what do they call it, like a SWOT analysis of your like, opportunity from like marketing, and you're like, well, everyone who loves me says impossible. When I ask people how good I am, they say, pretty good. My family, they think that I should not take this too seriously. Nobody around me is making money at it. So it's like all of the data says no, impossible. And then you take that and you do it. Good luck being told no again.
Yeah, for real.
Because I'm now addicted to like, I know.
100%.
Like, for me, the next thing was singing. I remember my girlfriend being like, it doesn't sound great. Like
100%.
And so I would sing and I'd sing and I'd sing and I'd sing. And so now people pay me to sing on songs.
Yeah.
And it's just like, when I'm playing piano, I suck at it. And it's like, we'll let Meyer play. So yeah, for sure, by the way, Meyer's fucking way better at it than me. But part of my head goes, that's what they said about singing. You know what I mean? And it's just like, in 2 years, I'll be playing
exactly
behind somebody at a show or something.
I think that's really like the attitude of how you become unstoppable at something. It's like you feel no ways about what people think, and then you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna go get myself an agent to be an actor. And it's like, well, wait, what? And then but in your mind, you don't even second guess yourself.
You realize that everything is 10 steps. There's 10 steps away from just reverse engineering whatever the thing you want. You know what I mean? And actually, we talked about this. You said there's a couple of things you feel like it's a bit weird now. You might have got too old for.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, if I did want to do this thing or this thing, just the sheer fact that I might have passed the line where I could do that. And I think that's interesting to discuss, and maybe we can talk on that. But my response, which I think kind of connects here, is to do it the traditional way, time has passed. But because of the internet, for example, if you wanted to be a dancer, in your like 30s, that's not the ideal age to become a dancer. But through the internet, if you really became a master at it, you could have a viral YouTube channel where you become a famous dancer that people wanted their music videos because you're the person with millions of subscribers who watch these crazy dances that you do. And it's like, even today, even age doesn't fully stop you. It just stops you maybe from doing it the traditional way, where you go through like a dance agency or whatever. You have to do things a new way. If you're 50 and you're like, I think I'm going to be a comedian or an actor. Okay, that's not traditional, but you have the tools where you actually.
Yeah.
I think that thing is going to, excuse me, I think that is going to change really soon. Like,
as all of the internet people get older.
Yeah, as all the internet people get older and technology moves and medicine advances, I think like, I would love to have like a couple chapters in my life where where I go, oh, hey, remember when I ran that record label and I did this and that? And then I started this business and then I became a director or whatever it is. I think
really
that's going to exist.
I really respect people who do that chapters thing.
Yeah, I think that's going to exist more because of the way people are getting married later in their life, and they're going to keep getting married later and later and later. Right now, it's like 30 something. People are going to be married when they're 40 something. Like my generation is going to be like 35, and then my brother's generation.
Do you know
will be
one
like,
thing I'm really focused on, and you touched on this a little bit with medicine, is right at the age where we're going to be getting old enough that traditional Hollywood would be like, oh, the guys from the Damaged Good podcast, they just turned like 50 and like 55, didn't they? It's like, yeah, that's pretty old. Yeah, but when we're 50 and 55, do you know how many healthy 60 to 70-year-olds are going to be on the internet?
Yeah.
Who are like...
You have a market.
And they don't have jobs. We're going to hit a weird, like... It's almost like the baby boom bubble, but for content. Where there's going to be all these retirees on the internet going sorbet with content, and no, I don't want to see an 18-year-old like rapper. And by the way, 18-year-old rappers are fucking awesome, but... That gets weird by about 40 to listen to an 18-year-old in your ears. What's it like at 60 or 70? And so I think they'll be looking to podcasters in their 50s and 60s who are still funny and maybe like
absolutely. What I was going to say too is
for sure.
Where do you think all the Viners and all the YouTubers are going to go? They're just going to stop when they're 30 or when they're 40. You know what I mean? Like
making stuff
no, they're just going to keep going. That's what they do. You know,
citizens like who have like YouTube channels with
absolutely
so cool.
with like followers that they built up 30 years ago.
It'll become normal for that to be a thing. Right now we don't see it.
Right now, like old people,
but in the YouTube lane.
Yeah, right now, like old people are like, oh, I love books online. I've just discovered it. A Kindle.
Yeah, exactly.
But now it's gonna be crazy.
Look at us, because I'm 35. I turned 36 in April, and so in 20 years, I'm gonna be I came up before the internet, but I'm very internet savvy.
Yeah,
when I'm an old person, I'm going to lose some of that for sure. All of us are going to lose some of that stuff. But we're not going to suddenly lose the ability to use the internet or produce content.
No.
And especially by then, so much of it's becoming automated and AI assisted.
And if people are just living longer, it's not going to feel like you're 50.
No, that's right. And you're going to be smarter longer and like cognitive
stronger,
longer and all that stuff too. Mm-hmm. I have a gift for you guys, and I don't want to do it too late in the podcast. Because we're not that good, so we lose viewers as we go into the second and third hours. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I never checked the statistics, but
I was like, oh no, I need to talk more now.
No, but I do know that
we wasted the prime time.
More people watched the beginning, and so I wanted to give the gift before we got to the end of the podcast. And we have one for Meyer as well, but we're gonna give it to him tomorrow at the studio.
Okay.
I just thought it'd be fun to document.
Oh yeah,
giving us the gift on the podcast.
Yes. And we won't post this.
It's gonna come up next week, and by then Meyer will already have it. So this one's for Jess.
Is it the same?
Ooh.
Yes, and there's one for me in there too.
Okay.
This one's for Graydon. So, I think open them up.
Okay, I am opening my box.
Graydon and Jess are two business partners at Heavy Aux Records, along with Meyer Clarity, and we have produced 25 pop records, and we've opened a recording studio. We've launched a bunch of products. Sorry, a bunch of artists. I got distracted by the thing that came out of the hat.
One day.
We launched a bunch of songs by Megan Nora, and we're currently meeting with other artists. And these are two business partners, and I wanted to give them a little thank you from Illy.
Oh,
hey,
amazing!
Yo,
yeah, the black and gold
respect.
Heavy Aux dad hat.
So
Really
for the
cool.
listeners, these dad hats, is that what you call them? What do you actually call them? Is it like fitted?
I'm showing
base
the
hats?
camera.
Yeah, but it's like this style.
Yeah.
Very cool.
The gold
I love
embroidery.
it.
Come on, cuz. Hey. It's like that moment in like baseball movies where like
They all put on the
they bring
team hats.
bring like a box. It's like, we're done wearing those old uniforms.
Yeah.
We're ready for the playoffs. I got new uniforms.
That's a great analogy, like the baseball movies.
Hey.
Thank you. This is really cool.
Cool.
This is fun.
Heavy Aux, baby.
I like stuff like this because, like, we'll still remember something like this in 5 years.
I woke up one morning, I got stoned, and I was like, I'm going to buy everyone jackets like Drake. And I couldn't afford that.
Yeah, those like bomber jackets or anything.
Oh, yeah, I even designed it up using like the software.
Next year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, no, not this year. Maybe next year. Once we get our first bag at the label, then we'll do jacket.
So
I'm gonna wear this. I'm
Can you
excited.
give the
need a new
longer
hat.
explanation of what Heavy Aux is and what we've
Yeah,
been
let's
up to?
talk business,
let's
boy.
talk. So Heavy Aux Records. So I mean, it's interesting. So publicly, we're a record label, but internally, I think we're way more focused on being like a production house and like a songwriting house, and that's largely because I think that's like a foot into the business for us. We make really fun, entertaining records. Like me and Meyer have been making entertaining records for years. And so we've kind of taken that POV, my man Graydon's business sense and his fantastic network, and kind of like everything that we've been doing from like the lyric vid standpoint and the marketing, and put it together in this like box that is this small record label. It's mostly just us on the label and Megan Nora, who anyone who knows me has probably heard some of her music that we put out this fall.
Shout out Megan.
Shout out to Megan. We should have her on soon too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the public part, but internally it's been like writing. So we've got 25,
we're like a production
26
house
songs.
right
And the whole point is to play some of the songs with some big artists to create some revenue, because for anyone who knows the music industry, songwriters get a big piece of the revenue pies. And so it's about making money and getting our foot in the door outside of being artists to potentially, lead the way to
And you
us.
said we're at 25 songs now?
I think, well, it's 25 songs, but then I added the Megan songs to our like label list of songs. So we're actually sitting around 28 songs in total. But we've written 25 songs as a songwriting team. And Meyer's album just got finished today. And
Did it? I didn't even know.
Yeah, he finished the last touches on the last song today, I think. Or he might have said that he's got one song left to do, but we're very close. And then we just shot the Megan Nora music video.
Yes.
So the label's like moving on like full steam ahead, all cylinders, and I'm so excited. Like Heavy Aux, the name has existed for a long time. It's like this abstract idea. And I remember saying to you that like it's sitting here stagnant. What do you think about like bringing Meyer and Graydon in and like making this like not stagnant and having a real team really going for it? I've never actually taken a kick at the can. I put music out, so I know what happens with Ill Vibe music, but from like what I know about the music business and writing and like industry moves, I've never really like tried anything. I just tried putting my own music out and assumed that was what there was to do. So now we've really like kind of created a little entity in the music industry. And when we talk to people, I can say, I've got a team back in Toronto. This is what we do. And it's like the response is immediately different, because they can tell that we have some, like, what do they call it? Like not a stake in the game, but
It's something tangible.
yeah.
I'm excited to go to the next conference and have something to say other than,
have
you know,
songs
lyric
to
videos.
show.
Which lyric videos is great too, but it'll be nice to.
I find that speaking about music in terms of like, we're doing this. I use the we word a lot.
Yeah.
Is so much stronger, and also it makes me feel better. Like it's just instead of like, oh, I'm working on this EP
'Cause you
and
can
this
brag about
mixtape
your team,
and I'm
bragging
doing this.
about yourself.
But
is
yeah,
hard.
I say like we're really busy. Like we just set up the studio.
Yeah.
We're writing hits, whatever, and it's exciting, and it just feels good.
That's awesome.
Dio, a good homie and mentor of mine, once put me onto the concept that when you're in a room full of people, to walk up to somebody and say to them, "Hey guys, my name's Ill Vibe. I just played a 50-day US tour. I'm award winning. I appeared on a TV show." He's like, halfway through, they're like, "What's this guy's a sociopath?"
Yeah.
He's like, "But if you walk up and I say, 'Do y'all know my boy Ill Vibe?'
Yeah.
Man just wrapped up a 50-day US tour, and back home in Canada, he's actually widely known from being on TV." It's like, holy fuck! Let me follow you on Instagram. What's your name? It's like, so that's powerful. If I say it, it's a horrible look, and if you say it, everyone wants my name. That's a fucking value gap that I would like to take advantage of. And so, like, me and Myra talk about that all the time. And now, as a label, it's kind of that same thing.
Yeah.
Regularly, someone says, "So who's Graydon?" Because they all of a sudden start tagging this Graydon guy and everything. And
Cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, for people who don't know me for a long time, that's a newer name.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a good opportunity. Because I could just say, he's an old friend. Used to be an artist I work with. We're going to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Which is like the shitty version of it, I guess. But the really, like, legit version of it is like, oh, he's one of the smartest business people I know. And man was on his route to being a fucking billionaire, and he makes great music. So we brought him into Heavy Aux before someone else did. And it's just like, well, now that's legit what I tell people.
Amazing.
And it's just like,
Thank you.
Well, I need to know who that is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep me posted
And I
on the
could
music.
never say those things to
No.
someone. That would be ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
beyond optics and networking, it's also like just internally, like working together is so much nicer than working.
So much better.
Or working
yeah,
for
that's a great
yourself,
point.
working with yourself, or also even like if you were, for example, just to like hire Meyer to work on something for you. It's like, it's a different dynamic than when we're all building towards the same thing that we all benefit from. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's super cool to
Synergy.
work
Heavy
with.
Aux. And I've been getting so many questions about, tell me about the label. Things seem to be going really dope at the label. And I think mostly people are just giving their support because they don't really know what we've got going on behind the scenes. But I think when people do,
I think that's okay.
Yeah,
it's definitely
absolutely.
okay.
No, for sure. I just mean, I think when people start to hear some of what we're producing, I'm so excited. I built my career off of the music earlier that I said I'm embarrassed by, and I've gotten pretty far off of it. So that's the thing I need to remind myself, is that I built a career off of that. like what happens now when we roll out this music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I legit my renewed love for music is like lit right now. We've been to see so many live concerts where fucking blew our minds, from Counting Crows to Alina Baraz to Justin Timberlake, and we're going to see her in a couple of weeks. And it's just like I've re-fallen in love with live music, and through these studio sessions and hanging out with these amazing girls, these like songwriters and singers, I've like re-fallen in love with like indie music again. And I'm in a good place. And I just got married, right? Not to bring back to that, but I just mean like I got married, and at the same time, my love with music is less conflicted than it was for like the last 5 or 10 years.
I'm definitely like the most excited I am about music, and I wasn't actively making songs for like 2 years, basically.
Wow.
So it's a big deal.
What's fun is I was just talking to you guys because I was really in the moment, like looking at the Heavy Aux stats, and then in the middle of it, I realized I'm talking into the microphone. So in a lot of ways, I'm like explaining Heavy Aux in full for the first time.
Yeah.
In detail, you know. What I mean?
Totally.
To people who might actually care to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I just had a question and I forgot it. Fuck. Sorry.
All my other topics are really hard segues, transitions.
So I have to tell you that story from today.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
tell us.
So I had something really exciting happen today, and I didn't even tell Jess yet because I really wanted to share it on the podcast. So let me set the landscape. In 2001, I got my first driver's license after failing my G2 test 3 times. That's like a lot of times to fail a G2 test.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
That's bad.
Now, granted, there are reasons. Like my dad, I owned a car this whole time. I failed it 3 times while owning a car already. And it just sat in my driveway, and I walked past it every day after I failed my test. It was a very sad time in my life. And I would ask my dad to take me on driver's tests, and he'd be like, to teach me how to drive.
Test drives.
And he was too busy. And so... sad. No, granted, so my dad loves me. My dad's great, but in this time he was just like, I can't help you, Anth. And then so I failed my next test. You know what I mean? So I failed it 3 times. 2001, I finally get it. But when you get a G2, here in Canada, we have graduated. G1 is like you need to drive with your dad. G2 is you can drive by yourself, but not at night, and with like no alcohol and all these, and like no one in the back seat and all these like rules. You know what I mean? And then so I had the G2, and you have it for 5 years before it expires. So. This is back in the era of my life where I was really bad at confrontation. So anything I didn't find even remotely enjoyable, I would just avoid. I lost a lot of jobs in this period of my life. I lost a lot of women. And so, for example, my driver's license, I let it lapse because I failed too many times before to go take another driver's test. I wasn't having it. I was not doing another driver's test. So I let it lapse. My dad was so fucking mad at me. He's like, because as a man, he's like, you let your driver's license lapse?
So what happens when you do that?
You lose it. It starts over.
Yeah.
Starts from beginners?
Yeah,
or?
beginners all over again. So then...
Like you have to take your beginners again?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So I lapses, and then like 6 months later, I go back, take my G1 and my G2 in the same day. I pass this time. I've now driven a bunch over the last couple of years, so I pass. Now it's 2010, and I've got my second G2. It's about to lapse as well. We're right at the cusp of it. It's going to lapse as well. And this is when I find out that I qualified to move to the UK. And so I apply, and I get in. I get a visa. I go move to the UK, and when I land there, they say they have a program where you can trade your Canadian driver's license for a British driver's license. You just mail it to them, and they mail you a UK license. Mm-hmm. So they mailed me a UK license.
That's a sweet deal.
It's the license I've had forever that you've known me. The UK license are good for 10 years here in Canada, only for 5 years. So it was good for 10 years. That was 7.5, almost 8 years ago. I got that UK driver's license. I've been back in Canada for 7 years. I've been back in Canada like pretty quick after I got that license. Mm-hmm. And I've been using it. And so every time I get pulled over, it's just like, hey, man, I just got back a couple weeks ago.
Which sometimes would happen to be true, but you never drove when you were there.
I did travel in and out of Canada back to Europe, so it always would reset my clock of when I could use my license for a little while again. So
it resets the clock if you're there a bit?
It's from how long you've been back in the country. So it's like, in theory, I was going back to my home country, the EU, several times a year. It's a weird thing.
Yeah. Well, it kind of makes sense if he was driving.
Very few people have my situation
where
I had a UK license, but I'm from Canada, but I'm going to the EU. It's a very weird situation.
Yeah.
I fell through the cracks, fam. This is what the story's about. Illy fell through the fucking cracks. So, I've been using the license forever and telling all kinds of stories. Like down at the Enterprise Rent-A-Car, I would be like, so yeah, me and my girl just broke up. I got a kid over there, and I would like use this just to get because you're not gonna ask too many questions about my license if I'm going through a divorce with somebody that sounds so real.
Yeah.
So I honestly just I told so many weird lies about
That's amazing.
because this license is technically a problem. But it just solves so many problems. I got a crazy speeding ticket where they would get it would be like 7 points on your license. On what license?
What?
You know what I mean?
That's
right?
amazing.
Yeah, so I have been getting, and on top of that, I also saved a full cycle of driver's license, like going to the ministry.
So what if you were to like get a parking ticket or something?
It's fine. I just have to pay it.
Oh, okay.
So recently the Enterprise said to me, "We know the stories, but you clearly live here now." And they always, Enterprise, you have to rent a car within 30 days of when you came back in the country. They won't if it's more than that, they won't. I go often enough, that's not been a problem, but they still said it's clearly you're from here. So we'll keep renting to you within 30 days of when you come back. But we know you're doing something wrong, so please deal with it. You know what I mean? And so today I finally said, I'm going to go fucking deal with it. 7 years later with this fucking UK license, there's like chips in it. It's this old pink, it's a pink driver's license. I even, people like when we're drinking, I'm like, and they like don't believe I have like a British driver's license, and I showed them this fucking pink card that I have. So anyway, so today I go down. It was the shittiest day. It was 4 hours. That's not what it's about. I finally get to the fucking front of the line, and I go talk to the lady, and I say, so in 2011 I had an Ontario driver's license. I leave out the fact it was a G2, and I say I trade in. She goes, "You want to trade back?" I say, "Yes, I do." Trades back and gives me a full G driver's license.
Sheesh.
Never had to take a test.
What?
And now I'm straight for life. I never need to take another driving test again. I literally
That's amazing.
skated by without
Took your
doing
word
that.
for it.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's like, I also think I might be the first person in history who converted a G2 driver's license to a full UK driver's license.
So you
and then
got
tried to
away
convert
with
it back.
two things,
So it's almost like
yeah.
in the two upgrades, in the two side moves,
You
I came up
circumvented some
one.
system, like-
and honestly,
Will you ever have to take your G again, or you're good for life
until
now?
I'm an old man now, I'm good. And I honestly, just the anxiety and even the day of having to go take that G test, because even today I was sitting there and I'm going, if she converts me back to G2, I'll just book a G driving test same day and I'll like do it in 2 weeks from now or something.
Yeah.
And like whatever. But then I looked at the fucking piece of paper and it's like a little miracle. Because I remember saying, even when I was in the UK, I wonder if when I go back, if I trade this ID, just as an outside like whim, if they'll just trade me back for a
Low
full.
key, I want to do that.
Yeah, so I'm
That's so crazy.
How funny is that? And I've gotten away.
I
I've
have
gotten
like
away
this
with
weird
it.
like Christian guilt where like I feel weird about it, but it's like whatever. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
I saved
doesn't matter.
$100 in fees, but also I saved like probably 2 trips to the Ministry of Transportation, which I would pay $400 to get out of. So anyways, it was just like a funny, when I looked at the piece of paper, it was like a great like full circle moment from like 10 years in the
That's
making.
pretty cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually 17 years in the making if you count the 2 expired licenses.
I'm gonna excuse myself for a second.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So question
Great, you
for
have to
you.
go masturbate quick. That's what the story was.
A lot of guys tend to have like egos and stuff about driving. Like it seems like a very like, you know what I mean? That's, if somebody says like a woman's like a bad driver, it's just like, oh, haha, you know what I mean? But if someone says a man's a bad driver, it's just like, somehow has to do with like the male ego. And I don't know why cars and I guess, I don't know. I don't know why that started. But anyways, that being said, do you think that if you had to do your G test that you would pass it?
Yeah, I think I would.
Because you're not a great driver.
No. I actually am a great driver.
You're not,
No.
though.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Because you don't drive. I am a great driver in the things that they check.
Oh, okay.
It's like they're big on: are your hands on the wheel? Are you always in the lane? Do you checking your blind spots? I can do all those things.
Yeah.
The thing that you're talking about is I'm an aggressive driver, and I am an overly aggressive driver, and I hit the brake a little bit too
And
much.
you're you're a spazzy driver.
Yeah. You say spazzy. I'm an aggressive driver.
I knew this was going to be a thing.
No, because I was in an Uber.
This is funny.
I was in an Uber just the other day, and he was a really aggressive driver. And I thought to myself, this is what it's like being in my car, because he was like speeding up and then hitting the brakes. Because when you speed up lots, you have to hit the brakes more. It's math. You know what I mean? And so I'm just aggressive. I'm not like just hitting the brake like a spaz.
Yeah.
It's because I'm trying to be tricky and.
Do you guys want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
Like maybe the second or third date with me and Jen. Jen is my girlfriend. Shout out to Jen.
I thought you said shut up to Jen.
Shout out. Not shut up. No. We were coming to my apartment and she is such a bad driver that like it was like one of those down ramp parking whatever lot things.
She's like a nervous driver?
Yeah. And there was someone that wanted to back up, which means she had to back up onto the street when oncoming traffic. And then I was like, we should just park somewhere else. And it got in this whole thing where I was like, I'm doing this. I was like, get out. I'm getting in the front. And I kicked her out and I got in the, yeah, and I
like a man. Like a man would and
I
should.
love you, Jen.
Yeah.
I'm joking, of course.
It is.
But it was really funny because it's still like something I bring up. Like,
Yeah.
Like she's like, we should go here. We could just drive. I'm like, you mean I will drive?
There's no we about this.
Yeah, I don't drive. I don't even have my beginners.
You don't have it?
No, I've never driven a car.
Just so that for the course of our, you know what? The driverless car thing is happening quicker than I thought. Maybe I don't care that much because that might not be a hill I even want to die on to even be. Because I told her I don't want to be DD for life, but to be honest, we might not need to between Uber and driverless.
And it rarely comes up.
Yeah, it's mostly just on tour and we just Uber anyways.
Yeah. We don't even do the driving
Uber
tours
eliminates
anymore.
that problem.
Yeah.
Entirely. I love Uber. They use it too much.
Yeah. So that's the chapter on
so cool.
on that.
Excuse me. Sorry.
What do you got? So I've talked about lots today. Jess always brings some stuff.
I was expecting like crazy questions, crazy topics.
No, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm really let down by my whole experience here.
Did you guys hear the crazy Toronto news today? Did you see any crazy
It's just in.
headlines?
No,
This
I don't
just
know.
in.
All right,
That's not saying.
someone was telling me about the guy who jumped into the
Yeah.
Oh, the Shark Tank. I didn't hear about that.
So a guy assaulted someone near medieval times, then ran away from the scene of the crime into Ripley's Aquarium, which, as you know, if you're from Toronto, is close by, and just strips naked and jumps into the Shark
Is this a
Tank.
made-for-TV movie? Because it sounds like it's like
it's psycho,
like
man.
a time
Crazy.
traveler.
It's
landed
like
in
bath
Toronto.
salt shit. Like what?
He literally rips off his clothes and jumps into the Shark Tank. There's sharks
You
in
only
there.
know one half of the story. Maybe he was like in part of like. You know when Peter Griffin's like having a crazy fight with a chicken and they go across?
Yeah.
He could have been like this whole like battle sequence.
There probably was at medieval times, nonetheless.
Maybe like that shark. Like fucked
Who did
his
he
girlfriend.
assault?
That's a good question.
I didn't write down all the.
It's weird because didn't this
details.
happen in the middle of the day too?
Yeah. He just like assaulted someone near medieval times and ran away into a
What,
shark
assaults
tank.
only happen at night for crazy people? I don't think crazy people wait for nighttime necessarily.
That's true. Crazy people.
It's nighttime. Time to go cause some shit.
Makes me think of the
Aquarium
Purge.
skinny dipper wanted for earlier violent assault is the.
He slipped. He escaped the police though. They don't know who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good place to hide. The police will not be coming after you.
You know
in
what
a
his
shark
dick looks
tank.
like, but not sure who it is.
He's gonna be banned,
partially
banned from
circumcised.
all.
This picture is amazing.
That's obnoxious.
We do know he's partially circumcised.
It's
Can
his
you see
naked
this?
legs
It's just his naked
with-
ass with a shark swimming underneath him.
And the sharks want nothing to do with him.
they don't.
It's like they're like disgusted that he would even be around and do that. They're like, we've seen a lot of you with clothes on. We don't like you without clothes.
Aaron, witness. I was scared I was going to witness the death of this guy. Somebody seeing him in the tank.
That is the fear.
It would be hard to look away, though.
Oh, what'd you watch?
I think I would watch until I knew something was for sure going to happen, and then I think I would like leave. I wouldn't just not look. I would leave.
I would leave right away, I think.
No, if he was swimming,
like,
if he was swimming, I think I'd watch. But if I saw the shark like spinning, I would be like, hey, that's all I need to know is that the shark knows he's in there. I don't need to know what happens after that.
Oh, so you're not like
Can't, man.
yeah, like watching disasters.
Can't.
No.
Literally cannot.
Fuck no.
It's not like even like a moral judgment. I cannot.
This is a tag back to your last podcast, I think, about the horror movies. I am the exact same way in that I feel so visceral. Like I feel like I am the person in the movie that's getting ripped open or whatever it is that I get such a real reaction and I just can't.
Yeah, I honestly
And
can't.
Jen is obsessed with Halloween shit. And she just wants to do every horror house. And I'm like, babe, it's fine, but it takes a year off my life. Like
What do you call them? Horror houses?
yeah, horror
like
houses.
haunted house?
Haunted houses. Yeah, thank you. See, I don't even
whorehouses.
yeah, you know how it was. But, just kidding.
Tijuana.
Yeah, I can't do them.
Yeah, we watched.
Sorry for the Mexican voice, guys.
What did we watch recently? Pet Cemetery, because we're having our Franken Fridays. We watched Pet Cemetery. Oh, have you guys seen Train to Busan. Is that the name of the place in Korea? Busan.
No.
It's a Korean film about a train and a zombie outbreak on the train.
I've seen a
that's-
lot of Korean films, just not that one.
It's amazing. Are you being sarcastic?
Of course, I don't seen any Korean films. And
it's-
shout out to Koreans. I just
It's amazing, and it's an action film too. So it's not like you need to be into Korean films to like
Is it
enjoy
scary
it.
or just like an action movie?
It's a zombie movie, so I wouldn't say it's scary because I get scared really easily, and I wasn't scared because zombies aren't that scary to me. They're more so like
zombies
fun.
are the least scary.
Zombies are the
monsters,
least
for sure.
scary.
Yeah, because it's like you could kind of tell it's somebody in
Yeah.
makeup. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm also not hella scared of vampires. Like, I mean, in real life, I'd be fucking hella scared.
yeah, no, vampires aren't
But
scary.
like movie vampires aren't hella
Yeah.
No.
Even in
Nobody
that
watches.
Underworld movie or what was that? You know the one I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
they're action movies.
Yeah.
They're not horror movies.
They just have a lot of teeth or something.
Yeah.
A lot of teeth. It's not about so much about the quantity of teeth as the size and nature of the teeth. I think when it comes to vampires,
I
I
used
think
to be
sharks have a
obsessed.
lot of teeth. Vampires
True.
have two very important.
I imagine them extra layers in there.
Interesting. I like your take on vampires.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be a director one day.
Not sexy at all. Just
No.
like
Yeah,
a lot
just-
of teeth.
It just all comes out. Wow, I like that. Speaking of haunted houses, I took my nephew yesterday to Canada's Wonderland's Camp Spooky.
Camp Spooky.
My nephew is 46 centimeters, inches. He's 46 somethings tall.
How old is he?
He's I don't
More
actually,
than
I don't
46 centimeters.
actually. Okay, so 46 inches tall.
Yeah. I'm like,
He's really
I
small.
went like this, and I was like, "There's no way."
He's 46 inches tall, and he's 6. But the reason I say 46 inches is he could ride, like, there's like a little height thing, and it's like 46 is very low. So he could ride 2 roller coasters in the whole place. And mostly he just wanted to look at stuff. He's 6. So he got really excited. There was like this troll that comes up from under the bridge, it's like an animatronic troll or whatever.
Cool.
But we rode the front of a roller coaster, the same roller coaster that my dad took me to when I was a kid. And I'm not planning on having a kid, so this is like my moment to go with like my nephew to like ride the Ghoster coaster. It's a famous Canadian roller coaster like for kids. You know what I mean? We waited extra long, rode in the front seat. We screamed
Wow.
together. It was a really, really dope moment. Yeah, so
That's cute.
that's it's not really like a haunted house. It's not scary because it was
Yeah.
mostly
That's cool.
I think me and Jen were dating for like 3 months, and we went to Niagara. It was our first weekend away, any type of like slight vacation, and we went to there's a haunted house there. Do you know what it's
in
called?
Niagara Falls?
Yeah,
There's like 10 of them.
What's the like?
There's like House of Frankenstein. There might be a House of Dracula too. Alien Invaders, something like that.
It's called. It's none of those, but it's. I don't know.
It's a big one.
It's I don't know, a big one, and
Yeah.
you pay 15
Creepers,
bucks.
Freakers, something
Might be
like
like
that.
that, something like that. And
The
you
spooktacular-
essentially go into a pitch black room,
Screamers.
and it's just you just follow a red dot,
Yeah.
and it takes you through this room, and I guess there's different levels, and you can't see anything, and the floor moves up and down, and the roof lowers, and the sides go in, and oh my god, it was just bad. Like
bad as in, like, scary,
I
or-
was so scared. I was scared shitless, and I was behind Jen. Jen's walking forward,
Yeah.
and there's sounds that come out, and people that grab you, and like
This is just a
air
regular
things.
experience.
Did they
being a
grab you?
hot
Because I
girl.
heard they weren't allowed to grab you anymore.
someone grabbed my head, and I didn't like that.
Because I remember when I used to go to Clifton
my least
Hill,
favorite things to be
they
grabbed.
used to ask you, do you want to go like yellow light or red light? And yellow light is they're allowed to like jump out at you, but they can't touch you.
Yes.
And then red light is they're allowed to like full on
Greg
grab you.
got set up for the
But
red light, didn't even know.
But I heard that
the red light
that's since
special.
been like outlawed or whatever.
Oh,
and that,
completely. It's like
Yeah, I don't think
And
they
that they're
can.
not
I don't
allowed
think
to
he
grab
meant
you
to.
at
maybe
all.
it's like an illegal haunted house, like a rub and tug, where it's like you pay a little extra and you get the full red light experience.
Oh, maybe. At one point, though,
Did you see the look of disappointment on Jess's face? You know, like my secret haunted house premise. I think it's actually a pretty cool idea.
That
Where you-
is his fantasy.
You slide a little extra money to the weird teenager at the front, and he's like, "Oh, we'll give you the red light experience." And he passes like a 20 back to like his his uncle, and his uncle's like drinking tequila in the back, and he turns it up a little too far. No,
it's messed up. It sounds like a bad porno.
it sounds like a movie called Clifton Hill.
yeah,
Welcome to Clifton Hill.
Clifton Hill is a good name for a horror movie.
Okay, sorry. Back to whatever reasonable thing you were saying.
Yeah, I went to the Alien one on Clifton Hill once, and you're basically, that one is pretty cool because basically it's a guy like in like a lab coat and he brings you in and there's like a dome with like a dead kind of alien like sitting under
that's
it.
cool.
And then he like tells you about it. We found this specimen in the whatever fields at so and so farms and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden all the lights go off and when they come back on, the thing's broken and the alien's gone.
Oh no, I don't like
So
that.
it must be some kind of
I already-
like
Probably just rolls over.
it rolls over.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought that was super cool though. And then a lot of sounds and you're running through like a lab. So it was like very like quarantine.
getting anxiety right now.
Yeah. I love haunted houses. Have you ever been in a haunted house or
Haunted
no?
houses don't tend to. So here's the thing. They do make me jump because I'm usually like stoned all the time, so they do make me like jump. I'm not saying that, but they don't scare me like horror movies scare me because I know it's a guy making minimum
Yeah.
wage.
Yeah.
So one thing that actually did ruin
Minimum wage really is
It's a scary.
It
Yeah.
is scary, but in a different way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. One thing that actually did ruin haunted houses for me is going to the Halloween haunt at Canada's Wonderland. That's the adult version of Camp Spooky, where at night they turn the. Have you ever been to that? They turn the
No,
whole
but
thing into like a
That's
haunted
the
house
one that Jen
essentially.
wants to go
Leighton
to.
kept asking
Yeah,
me about it. He's
so-
like, can we go back? I'm like, bro, you're 6, and I'm not gonna let you in for that.
Yeah. So
Bruh, you're
basically,
6.
what happened when we were there with a bunch of friends is there was a guy up ahead. Like I could see him like jumping out and scaring the groups ahead of us, and I could see him like swinging at the guys like nuts. Like he was like
Well, that's
like
cool.
knuckling people in the nuts as they went by. But like front
Nut
and
knuckle
I
is never called.
and I saw him do it to like the group before us to one of their guys, and then he did it to one of my guy friends, and we were like, bro, like not cool.
There's that
Like
minimum wage acting
but
up
it's the
again.
minimum wage. It's exactly what it is. Like it's like these shitty dudes, and like how are they going to stop shitty
Yeah,
dudes?
sorry,
Literally, only shitty dudes want that job.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
I'm sorry.
For anybody
true.
listening who makes minimum wage, I made it for many years of my life. That's not even what I'm saying. I just mean when you have like a temporary, like short-term gig that's pays low, the odds that you're going to get a weirdo who just does some fuckery
Yeah.
because he knows the job is done on November 1st anyways is
You're hiring people who love to scare people.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get some
who have
weirdos.
nothing, who don't have another
they
job.
want to
like
sit there
those
for 8
people.
hours a night and just go like "Ah," and scream at people. Like that has to be a weird person. And that being said, just so that if anyone's listening who's worked these jobs before, I've
Yeah, I
also
was
worked
gonna
these
say, I
jobs
feel like
before.
you
I did. I worked in a haunted house before because I
Yeah.
lived in
Yeah,
Niagara Falls, right?
yeah.
So
Listen,
I've
if you're
worked in the
Niagara
haunted
Falls, you can work at the
houses.
falls, at the pumpkin patch, or at the haunted house. That's all they
Yeah.
have there.
Pick your.
But I also worked with some sketchy dudes. Like there was definitely some sketchy people working there. So
So you're saying
Oh, now I really
Are
wanna
you saying
go.
that my movie idea
Yeah.
is getting more lit by the second?
yeah.
Yes. There's definitely like a serial killer possibility in that
saying.
Yeah.
movie.
I feel like that has to have been done already, like a haunted house, like a pretend one that ends up being a real one type thing.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's not what I said.
No, I guess not.
But we
Mine's-
jumped.
mine-
We jumped there.
Mine's
I went
about
there,
the
sorry.
people. It's about the like. You have some weirdos there. who,
Mine is about the people. I'm
I'm saying
about
it's
the
not
people.
actually haunted. There's no
I'm for
ghosts.
the
That's not the
people.
point.
Yeah.
The scary part here is the kinds of weirdos that work at these things.
Yeah, no, that would be.
Are terrifying.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, now I don't want to go.
They're the kind of people give themselves.
Are you guys
prison
going to go to the
tattoos outside
Halloween
prison.
haunt
We're
this year?
supposed to go to the one at the X on Friday, and then Jen wants to go to
I didn't know the X had one. Oh, no, it's Screamers at the X.
Yeah,
right?
Screamers, and then Jen wants to go to the one at Wonderland.
So Screamers is actually really good because it's all very close together. It's like very like you can do all like there's like 6 haunted houses. You can do them all pretty quickly. Whereas Canada's Wonderland, everything's so spread out that it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But both are really good. I've done.
Thank
both
you for
before.
mentally preparing me.
Yeah, no worries.
This is our Halloween episode. I don't know if you know. If you know.
Yeah, we
Ooh.
put
I don't
up
know if you
some
can tell from this giant
decorations.
skull
I was
right
actually wondering what this was. And I didn't go like that. I was just like, no, it's cool. It's part of their thing. I'll not question it.
there. Yeah. Yeah. So this is our Halloween episode.
Okay.
It's not Halloween here, which is why no one's dressed up or anything. But it is. I figured this episode is going to come out. It's going to be the only one that's out the week of Halloween. So,
True. I'm honored.
and if there is a chance,
Are we going to talk about
get back
Halloween
and it'll come out.
costumes or something?
Oh, we should talk about. That's a good question. That's
Yeah,
a
we
good
could.
idea. So, do you have any ideas for what he's being this year?
I think we're doing. I'm being like Wolverine and Jen's being Storm.
Yeah, that's sexy. I like it.
We're doing villains. Like me and a bunch of friends are doing all like villain themes. So
Shayla and Katie and people from the podcast.
yeah, and Anthony's gonna participate, which is really
I
exciting.
never participate in Halloween costumes. I'm
Who are you gonna be?
going to be Scar from The Lion King.
Oh.
I did. So my only thing I said was I don't want anything on my. Because Jess is like, we'll do full prosthetic makeups.
No,
we'll
I didn't
install
say
a tail.
prosthetics. You don't need prosthetics.
We could glue shit to your
Install a
face.
tail. I did not say that
We
for the
will
record.
install a mechanical
She ordered one
tail.
from Amazon. It's like a butt plug with like a lion's tail. And I'm not going to wear that. And she's like, no, we'll cut a hole in your pants. The tail will come out the back of the pants.
You're ruining Halloween, babe, if you're not going to wear the butt plug
Butt
tail.
plug tail. Or BPT.
Plug two.
But no, but we are going to do like the scar eye, and then I guess like a lion nose or whatever.
And I think I'm gonna be Mystique from X-Men.
Fuck.
No,
Mystique
you
is
guys
so
say
hot.
Storm and Wolverine. That's funny.
Yeah.
Are you guys coming to our thing, or do you have other things?
No, we're coming.
Sweet.
Are you?
And then we'll be there. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Bad joke, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, we're gonna come.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah. Is it
Fantastic.
at
Makes me
the?
happy.
I know podcast listeners that aren't in Toronto, but is it at the bar that we had your birthday thing at?
No.
No.
It's the same street though. It's at Groove Bar.
Yeah.
Which is a cool little karaoke and like.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
to be honest, it's the
Similar
perfect
vibe.
I'm not a karaoke guy.
No. We're
That's
not.
cool. You don't have
Is
to.
there even karaoke there that night?
Yeah, there is.
Cool. Yeah, I don't do it either. Funny. That's a funny thing is because as much as I love singing and
Performing,
like rapping,
yeah.
Something about karaoke
It's
makes me
weird,
really
right?
nervous, and I don't
It
like
freaks me out. Like I
Yeah.
can get on a stage, but then at karaoke, I just like clam
I
up
went
like
and tried
a
to do a
weirdo.
song and I
Yeah.
clammed up like crazy, and it was still kind of fun, but like my heart was racing, and that's not how I feel when I perform music.
Yeah.
And I even do covers when I perform. But I will say that like for a little while I was covering Mark Morrison's "Return to the Mac" at my shows.
Oh, I remember that. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and I would get the most nervous for that song. So there is something about that where
It's because there's an expectation
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
People
Because
know,
people know the song.
yeah, because when it's an ill vibe song, even when I do a bad version,
People
I know I
are
can
like-
make up with a couple jokes or something. But
Yeah.
it's like if you're doing another song, it's like, well, that paled in comparison to the real
Yeah,
guy.
and people might not know the ill vibe song, so they go, "Oh, is that the song? Okay."
Exactly.
In that
I
voice.
resent that you think that they might not know my song. I'm successful.
What I
People know
might
me.
do, because me and my friends are hosting the Halloween party, is I might do karaoke for like the beginning of the night, and then I might bring the laptop and start DJing later.
Are we gonna get a Jess Robert playlist?
Yeah, we're gonna get I know this sounds really bad, but I feel like I might gauge like how good the karaoke people are, because if it just gets to be like drunk people screaming into the mic,
Oh,
I might be
please,
like,
please end
"Hey
that."
guys, one more hour for karaoke, and then
Yes.
we're gonna do," you know what I mean? Like,
You're such a boss for doing that. I,
I
like
think
that.
for sure that's a good idea, babe. Because the kind of people who want to do karaoke will be happy to be at the place at 10 o'clock.
yeah, and
And then
sometimes
by 11:30, you could be moving on from karaoke, and we have a great playlist of music and have a vibe.
Totally. Sometimes
like that
too,
a
though, Groove Bar. The karaoke's like dope. Like I think that it really depends on the group of people that come, but there's a lot of good singers that go to Groove.
I still think as the night hits that
Yeah,
like
no,
vibe,
for sure. I think
it's
so
not
too.
about.
But I'm just saying that like it's not like your typical like karaoke
you're
night.
right,
Usually,
you're right.
there's sometimes a few, but it usually is
But
like
nobody's
better
gonna be
singers.
karaokeing Kendrick or.
You're
you
right.
know what I mean?
But it's not all about you, babe.
Did I say it was about me?
You did
Whoa.
3 times. It was really
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, I know.
No.
It's about me. It's about me. It's about
It's
me.
about me. It's me.
No, fuck that. We're doing this. I didn't say anything about me. It's not about the 7 or 8 people who love karaoke.
I
And
like Kendrick.
By the way, those people are throwing the party, so I fully appreciate that there will be karaoke.
No.
I'm just saying that there'll
Other
be a
people
moment
who,
where there
other
are 40 or
regulars at
60
Groove
people.
love karaoke too. That's the thing. I'm just saying.
The people that you're inviting who aren't.
I love how I gave the idea, and then he's like taking my idea and making sure that I do the idea. I'm planning on doing
I
it.
said it's a good idea.
Yes,
And
yes, I
then
agree.
I just simply resent you saying this is I think probably our first on podcast argument.
No, it's just a second.
I resent
such a
you hearing.
such an avid listener.
Yeah, you should definitely do that as well. It's not about you.
No, I know you said we should play some Kendrick, and I said it's not
No,
about you, babe.
I just said.
I love how you still. We've been together for so long, and he still
is
doesn't get
happening.
my sense of humor.
I know.
Like I'm like.
I understood she was
I'm
joking.
like, it's not about you, babe, and then you take it really seriously.
No, that's not a joke.
It is a joke.
She was joking.
That's not a joke.
Yes,
I
it's a
thought it was
joke.
Well, I don't think it's. I would say if I was listening to a podcast and one guest goes something, 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 and the other person's like, "Man, it's not all about you," and then they just moved on. My takeaway would be, yeah, he is pretty selfish. So I don't think the world would be like, ba-dum bum ching, great punchline, on to the next thing. So I'm simply saying I wasn't making
The power in the joke was that she just moved on too.
Yeah.
No, she was trying to boss me, and I was still gonna end up looking like the fucking cuck in the situation.
Speaking of power of the joke, how is stand-up tings going?
Good. I think
You have something coming up, no?
in November I have something coming up.
Was I not supposed to talk about that?
No, it's okay.
In November, actually.
Yeah.
We hadn't announced it yet.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, I've been doing local stuff like once a week or so. It's going
That's
okay.
good.
It's slow going. I bombed. Yeah, I think we talked about this in the
good to
podcast
bomb.
already. I bombed last time and the time before. Last time wasn't as bad, or maybe it just didn't feel as bad. And then the time before was really bad.
Was it like bombing in comedy, just no one laughs? Like, what happened?
Yeah, like it was just like the room was like, and to like give myself some credit is that like the few people before too, also it was like silent, like crickets.
Yeah.
I think it was just like a tired
sucked.
room, and like it was just like bad, and like too many like bads at one after another, and then like decent me.
Nice.
Well, that Jess assumes that
I'm not a bad.
everybody,
I'm
but
not a
they
bad.
calm it down.
I'm not a great. I'm maybe not even a good, but I'm
You
an
told me
I'm
the
an
story the next day,
okay.
that's what you said too.
Yeah.
It was already bad, and that you didn't do well, and then the
Yeah.
whole thing just culminated.
Yeah, and I'm trying out so much new material because I started when I first started it. I tried doing the same set over and over again, like different places, and like reworking the same set. But then I was just like I feel like I just shouldn't just do the same joke. I should just keep trying new
you're
stuff,
not covering any new
and then
ground.
build like
Yeah.
keep writing, build new stuff, and then I can put the best jokes in, and then build like a really good set. So it was
cool.
all new stuff when I bombed. So it's possible I just didn't have it like worked out good enough to.
So the other night I had a mandate with Mike Carosa, comedian Mike Carosa,
Yeah.
guest on the podcast. And just to give it what's kind of cool about it, and to give it some context, if you remember the story with Mike, is we went and saw a comedy show, and we had the best time. And there was like a standout superstar on the show, and his name was Mike. And I got his name, but then when I must not have got the right name because I kept Googling him and we couldn't find him. And then randomly we were at another comedy show, and then I saw a business card with his face on it, and I'm like, this is the fucking guy who blew our minds a month ago. And then I tweeted him being like, bro, I've been looking for you. And then so he came on the podcast, and then we went and hung out, and like we're like buddies, and it was really cool because like the takeaway is like I literally like picked like a friend out of the universe, you know what I mean? Like somebody
Yeah.
that we went to the show
That's
and
cool.
like
Yeah.
we're like loving his whole energy and what he was about, and like we were like sharing existential stories, and we're both like struggling with our diets and exercise, like we're both a little over the weight we'd like to be, etc. Oh fuck, sorry Mike, but I'm joking, but
Yeah.
it was just cool, you know what I mean? But then so we hung out, we had dinner. And then he takes me to a little comedy show he's throwing, because Mike's really in the throes of hustling. He's got all the skill in the world,
He just needs to.
but he's still not famous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like he headlined a festival in the States, and he plays headline shows all over, and he's really like a known like, killing comedian, and he knows a lot of superstars in the comedy world, but he's still very much in the grind to kind of get his name out there.
You made a lot of comparisons to like the music industry.
It's so much like he's in the same place as me, where it's like, yeah, that's impressive where he is. And then, well, have you heard of him? Maybe not. Is realistically the case, right?
Yeah.
So we go to this little show. He's throwing a show at this place called Lay Low.
Also another comparison to the music industry.
Yeah, very. Yeah. There's so many comparisons to the music industry. Well, so we went to the show, and it's so interesting to watch him. He went around like to the tables where everyone's eating dinner, and he's like, "Hey guys, so I don't know if they mentioned to you, but there's going to be a comedy show starting in about half an hour. You don't have to pay any money. You don't have to do anything. But if you'd like to hang out after your dinner, you're welcome." Because he's just trying to recruit an audience.
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
And then people start coming in, and comics start coming in, and the quality of the acts was really, really good. The size of the crowd was pretty small. The place only holds 40 people, so it wasn't a problem. It didn't feel too small. But it was a really like, I'm a diehard comedy fan. It's probably the way that men love the NFL or like NASCAR. That's how I like comedy.
Yeah.
Like I could list them in my favorite order of joke tellers or performers, which would be two different lists. You know what I mean? Like I'm that guy. And so to go to see like a comedian I respect so much like Mike, really like this is one of those due paying nights, like grinding it out nights. And I went and like job shadowed him. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like hung out, and like he set up the microphone. I watched him go around. I watched him introduce the first comic and try to get the vibe going that this is a comedy show. And it was just it was really like illuminating, and it gives me a lot of respect for what you're attempting to do, because I think there's going to be a lot of moments like that where you're like, tonight was so not worth it. But the reason why he's doing it and why you'll do it is that you don't get to the ones that are worth it without going through. You gotta go through those. There's no going out. There's no way to quite go around them unless you can come up with some magic plan of becoming famous on the internet or something, which people have done. Like that's a thing. But if you can't just go viral, the other thing you have to do is go hit the fucking road and get the respect of the other comedians, because that's often what it is, right? Like when we used to play Nocturne, or when you're playing Lay Low or Groove Bar. There's 25 people in the audience that isn't an artist or an artist's girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
If you're lucky.
really, this is the realization, was you were never playing to those 25 people. You were proving to the other peers in the group that you could be one of the ones that goes.
And then they'll put you on a show with a real audience.
That's the real game.
It wasn't gaining fans.
Never. The real game is you want these people on your team
to agree
that you are one of the good bets.
Yeah.
So that because they might then co-sign you to get a little leverage.
Yeah.
That's the game. Which is why I stopped taking bookings, because I was like, okay, I've got there. People know I'm one of the ones. So now I have to go do other things. You know
Yeah. And I think comedy is a lot like rapping.
It's very similar.
Because it's singular.
It's grassroots. It's one microphone.
Low barrier of entry.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's just one person, and you got to do everything yourself. You're writing.
All
you're
I
doing.
need is one mic.
Yeah, it's all the same.
One thing that I'm trying to like manage right now is my own like getting over it already so early into it, and not getting over the comedy. Like I love going up on stage, I love doing the comedy, but getting over like the scene. And I think that my solution for that is that I need to do other bars other than I do the one that's closest to us, and I do some other small bars. I think I just need to keep trying to do different bars.
Totally.
Because and not just do the ones closest to me.
This is a thing that I've been careful to not focus on too much, because I want you to fall in love with even the shitty part of it, because I think getting into playing those shows is going to be important to make it fun for you. But what I'm about to say is the thing that I've been kind of avoiding saying. I think once you start doing that, you're going to move faster than people, because you know how to navigate past stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've done this before with me in terms of what the next step past it is and how you might go about getting there. For example, you've already started doing it.
Yeah.
Where you're talking to somebody about a show and you're booking through contacts. Because once you get to that place, comedy's fun. Because even if those aren't big shows, at least they're promoted, organized shows. You get there and it's like, hey guys, blah, like
I've actually pumped the brakes because I think that I have the networking know-how to push myself too far ahead before I'm ready. Do you know what I mean?
I think
I could do that
I did
easily.
That to myself.
Yes. And you don't want to do that.
To be honest, this is between you guys and me and anybody who's listening. The show that I have booked on in November, I probably should not have that booked. Like, I'm just like, they just took somebody's word for it. My friend who's a comedian, they just took her word for it and booked me. But like, I'm not an open micer. They booked me as an act, and I'm like, okay. So I'm sure it's just going to be a small show. It's not going to be
an experience. If it goes great, horribly, or something in the middle, you're going to learn a ton.
One thing that I will say about myself is I'm very good at memorizing and delivering. So not delivering in the sense of I'm not going to forget what I was going to say and all that stuff.
You don't choke.
That also might be my downfall, is that maybe I sound too scripted, because I'm really good at.
I think that's a good entry point for you.
Yeah.
Because I've said this before too, but I've heard, like, on this podcast, I've heard so many comics talk about, like, you just need to get like some momentum. And so it starts off, some comics say they're doing an impression of another comic, essentially. That's not you. You do have your own thing, but it's still a little bit canned you. But I think I've heard time and time again that's how you get started. You get a little momentum doing this thing that kind of works, because
and then it gets
you got a trick
relaxed.
to it, and then it gets more relaxed, more authentic, and you start being funny, and that comes with all the experience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You're not acting. You're not performing funny.
One of
you
the
just
things
are funny.
I've heard the most is that, I honestly, I think the thing that you're in right now, you talk about chapters, the chapter you're in is you're just putting the time in to get relaxed enough to be your funniest self on stage. Because that might not even happen for another 6 months.
Yeah.
Where you get relaxed enough that you're the funniest version of Jess Robert while on stage. Because right now you're probably slightly funnier in a group of your friends, like in a dining room. Because I've seen you kill in that environment.
Yeah.
That's you in a social circle. We need to get you on stage. Because if the version I've seen you that makes your friends like die laughing, if that you, there's like a little smirk on your face and you're killing, we can like pick you up and transplant you on stage. Without making any nervous energy, you'll kill in that room too.
Do you know what's funny,
that
though?
will take a little while to get there.
Do you know what's funny, though? I've tried telling the stories that I tell to my friends, and obviously I've written them to be like more of a joke, like a format than just like a story. And those are the ones that haven't done the greatest. The jokes that do the greatest are more my punchy, like jokey jokes. And then my story that I think is like
long-winded stories.
Not necessarily long-winded, but it's more so like a storyteller. You know what I mean?
I think you're making my point, because you're not exuding the energy that you would have in that room when you're telling that story.
I'm trying to, but
it's hard to translate storytelling energy.
And Graydon and I are amateurs at this. But again, from just like repeating what I've heard, like Bert Kreischer talk about telling stories, for example, it's just like you don't even know the ways in which you're communicating to them that it's not as funny. Like you're going to find out all the little things, the little micro communications that you do when you tell stories that gets them to laugh, and the timing. From what I've heard comics say, it's like you're going to wake up to that. Over time, as you tell stories over and over, you're like, oh, when I do a little pause and like my lip quivers and then I give them a little joke, it always delivers harder. It's like those are the little tricks that you'll learn because you see him do it. And you know some of that's like planned. He's got
and
little
you'll
tricks
slip
he
into
does.
genius territory every once in a while.
Where you
and
go,
then-
oh, by the way,
and you got to take
it's
note.
a thing that you'll do, and people will love it.
Yeah.
You can't know that without doing the 10,000 hours. Honestly, I keep saying it, but I believe in nothing. There's no mantra I believe in as much as 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
and it's not the number, it's just a metaphor. It just means what you think you know at 100 hours, at 1,000 hours, you're going to be like, holy shit, I went to university. And then at 5,000 hours, you're like, I got my fucking doctorate now. Like, I knew what I was talking about then, but now I really understand it on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Like when we make music, and I do this thing where like I come in closer to the mic, I bring my voice down. It's a whole other sound, and I mean that's all I could tell you, and you could just do it.
Yeah.
But finding those differences between how you deliver in a microphone when you're recording, emotionally, what it means, what it triggers in the person. If I don't tell you, that takes some time to find that stuff.
Yeah.
You need mic hours. Like we've been talking about in the studio, me and you. It's about putting hours on the microphones. You can get really comfortable delivering in different vocal ranges.
Honestly,
singing, rapping. It's the same thing.
It's going to sound stupid, but doing karaoke at Groove was what built up my confidence to be able to do comedy to begin with. Because it's just like I go and I usually say something before I do the song too, and everybody laughs and like stuff like that. And it's just like that. And then it's funny that the comedy that I do mostly is at that same bar. So it's like I know this stage, I know this mic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's also the downfall is that I'm getting too comfortable just like
Also,
at that one. I need to like
it's your launch pad.
I wanted to mention that like by like one thing that was good for me when I was doing my Johnny Active thing is I was very hyper aware of not staying in the same like clique and group that was putting on shows because like the same clique and group would put the same people on the same shows and same people would come, which is cool.
It's just Groundhog Day.
Yeah, but I made sure I was like checking in with this crew and checking in with that crew, which meant different bars, which meant I was going to the other side of the city.
Great advice.
Yeah, and that has
you think about what I said.
network has stayed.
Totally.
I did that.
What you're doing is building up mic time. Priority 1. Priority 2. You're showing the peers around you your progress. Wow, crazy. I never had this. I usually have this on this mic, but the guest is always so quiet. You're showing your peers the progress and like how like, oh, this is somebody who's really like, look at the way she's improving. That joke is great. And that's when people start to book you on things. So I think those are the two things you're really doing. And then, so mic time and practice. And then 2, you're showing your peers what's what. You're not really out there gaining a fan base right now. And if people do start following you because they love your energy, I think that's almost like
that's not even the purpose of this.
That's sort of a bonus right now. For
that wouldn't be the purpose right now.
So you're right. If you connect what I'm saying to what you're saying, making sure that you do link in with some other circles and some other crappy little venues, you'll duplicate that now. And now there's 12 new comics who start to be like, yeah, the cute girls jokes are getting really better because honestly, that's what the guy comics will probably initially think of you as. Oh, the cute female comic who started coming to this club.
Yeah.
Oh, her jokes are getting really good. And if that is the vibe people are getting at a lot of places, your bookings will go up and there'll be better quality bookings. And I think and you'll get better from doing mic time and you'll get more offers. So that's the priority, I think, is getting out to some other venues.
Totally. You want to hear something funny? Just speaking of female comedian appearances, I went to open mic at the Garrison, I think, on the west side. Is that on the bar on the west side? Yeah. And me and 4 other female comedians had backwards baseball caps on. And we're like, oh, we're so like female comedians. Like it's such a thing where it's just like, I'm cool. I can hang with the guys. Like, you know.
I was on a date last week. He was such a girl.
Yeah. I was going to show you this and then I'm like, oh, this is something really boring to talk about on the podcast because no one can see it. But it's just basically a way that I organize my bits. If anybody has ever used Trello before, we are not sponsored by Trello, but
Trello.
It's just basically like a notes organizing website. And it's cool because like you can do columns and then like slide other stuff into like the columns.
Like, move the bits around.
So like let's say I did an act like then, so I can be like, oh, this is a good joke to start with or whatever, and I can like I can move stuff
For the
around.
listeners who can't see, she actually has this like laser hologram deck of jokes and get their hands in the air, just moving.
Swooping them left
Yeah.
and right,
And
just
it
like
just-
Tinder, and it's just
Can't believe
going.
we can all see it.
Yeah, sorry guys, that
3D
wasn't a
space.
great thing to bring up on the podcast. But ways to organize your notes and try those.
It's not, but it's not made for stand-up comedians. It's just
No, it's made for
notes.
like we use it. I originally used it for D&D.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So me and my friends play D&D, and when
They used to
you're
play
For- for a second, I thought that meant Dance Dance
That their
Revolution.
game is over.
so this is Journey to Greywater. So this is like a D&D story that I made. So it's like, oh, if they choose to go Riverside, if they when they're exiting the forest,
Journey to Greywater is
like,
also what Graydon calls it when Jim
Yeah.
goes down on him.
Yeah.
Journey
Yes.
to Greywater.
Journey to Greywater.
Lord.
We must enter the castle.
Anyway.
So you do like a finger in the ass. Okay. Good to know.
Night to Eva.
Why is that good to know?
I don't know. Good to know is just like turn a phrase.
Good to know is it's a good phrase.
So it's what you say when you don't know what else to say because you're awkward or maybe just a little turned on by it. So another funny thing that happened today was, so we're coming up really soon on the legalization of marijuana here in Canada.
Yeah.
And I've been buying marijuana from this online company, Buds2Go, go.ca. I'm again not a sponsor, but I really appreciate their affordably priced weed, and it's been an amazing experience. And so they
How does it work? They
yeah, it's
deliver
just an
it?
online store, and then they ship it to you, and you have to sign for it at the door. But it's like the cheapest weed that I've ever purchased, and incredible quality.
I tried to make a weed delivery app
I remember.
like 2 or 3 years ago.
I really liked like the name and
It
the
was,
logo.
it,
and it was
the
cool.
all it was so good, and then I was like, I'm in over my head. I don't know.
It is you were as smart as you are. That's a tough game to get in if you don't got a bunch of money to throw
Yeah.
at it. So I got an email from my company Buds2Go, and they said, "Hey, coming up on October 17th, essentially
Prices.
there's going to be not prices. Hopefully, actually, it could go the other way, but because everything's changing, we need to be ready to deal with that change." And so they're changing their name, and they're becoming, I think, like I can't remember. It doesn't matter though. But they're changing their name, and they are becoming one of the licensed providers, and all of their customers to get from those providers need to have a prescription. So they're one of the medical providers because they don't have they don't have a license for just to sell
For recreational.
Recreational, there's only like 5 companies who got that or
Yeah,
whatever. So this
yeah.
is one of like the 25 who got the medical license.
Yeah.
So they said, no problem though. We're gonna get every one of our customers a medical license. It's probably like 10,000 people, and they said, and we're gonna pay the fee. It's like $45 to get it done or whatever. And so I had a phone call, a meeting with my doctor this morning.
No way.
And it was so funny because it was just like,
Yeah, I could hear
she asked-
you
she
from
asked
the other
a lot
room.
of questions, but asked for no verification. So basically, my the truth, it is true, but no doctor.
It is true.
but no doctor has verified it. But it is true that I have ADD and a little bit of anxiety, but not a problem, but a little bit, and that marijuana helps.
yeah.
And so she just asked all these questions. And she's like, "You talked to a doctor about it?" I said, "Yep." And it would be totally reasonable. And in fact, another person asked this from me. Okay, no problem. Can you send us a printout of that? Just like some proof that you went and met a doctor about this, because then we have some proof that you tried to deal with this. But they're definitely in like roll customers out mode.
Of
'Cause they're just
course.
like,
It's
oh really? And do you find marijuana helps? Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much does it help?
5.
I say 4 or 5 for sure. I said 4 or 5 because I'm not trying to be exposed.
Yeah.
It's like when you go and buy condoms, but you buy something else. That's
Yeah.
like the
Caramel bar. Anyways, it was just really interesting, and then I got a call. It's like, "You've been approved. Do you have a dispenser or a provider that you want to go with?" And I did say, "Listen, Buds2Go footed the bill for this. I'd like to stay with them for now. I'm sure someone else, when he sees an email that says like $80 ounces, and I'm gonna jump ship eventually. But for now, it was like,
Yeah.
They were really good. They sent us an email being like, we're sorry, this is a pain in the ass, but we're gonna send you a gram of weed." It's like, thank
That's
you.
really good
Yeah.
service.
Yeah, it was great service.
Respect.
Yeah, that's great. Cool.
So God bless being Canadian, because I spent a lot of my life, like, let's talk about this for a second, bro. Like, I'm a heavy weed smoker. I'm successful anyways. It's a positive thing. But I have been smoking weed for a long time, since I was 16 years old, almost 20 years. And so much of my life, I would be going to smoke a joint and like freaking out. Like, I got arrested outside of a mall because I was going to see the South Park movie in theater with my best friend. And I got arrested and put in the back of a police car for smoking a joint and freestyling. And I have a police report here somewhere, and I should read it on this podcast. The police report says 2 young males shaking vigorously in the front seat of their car because we were freestyling.
And shaking vigorously.
Dude, they arrested me
Vigorous
and put me in
shaking.
the back seat of a car. I had to go to court and pay $3,000 to an addiction center.
What?
So they would drop my drug charge so that I could go into America as an adult.
What?
Yeah, like crazy. So I spent a great deal of my life waiting for when...
And money, apparently.
Yeah, and money. And for the day that if there's weed in my backpack and a cop says, do you have any weed? I say, yes, in my backpack. But I'm not stoned behind the wheel, so... Are we good? Because if I get caught high behind the wheel, that's on me. And I have driven high. Like, I'm not going to say I haven't.
Yeah.
But that's on me. I won't come on this podcast and be like, fuck the police for arresting me while driving high. Because I smoke weed and drive, and I honestly feel that it's not a safety hazard as long as it's not horrible weather or something, which I actually don't like to do at all. I don't even like driving sober in bad weather, but I will drive high on a good day. Just saying, I might as well be my fucking real self. Yeah. But if I get arrested doing that, that's on me. But if I get arrested minding my own business and I have a movie ticket bought, I showed him, I have a movie ticket. I'm not going to drive for 2 hours. And they still arrested me. So I'm to say that I had this appointment and then they called me to be like, and who would you like to mail you the weed? And you'll have a little card that if you get caught with it, you're fine. Actually, it's legal anyway, so I won't need a card. Sorry, I had a card before that said if I got caught with it, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Now I won't even need
So what's the day? It's October 17th.
Yeah, it's
What's that? 2 days from now.
And so that basically all that's going to change for you is if somebody catches you with it, it's not a problem.
Well, it's already kind of gray area. Cops stopped caring about it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But now on the 17th, if they find it in my backpack, it's just as long as I'm not smoking. I think in certain places in public,
selling it to kids.
But even if I smoke in public, it's the same charge you get if you were, I think, smoking cigarettes on a sidewalk, right? Like you can get a fine for that.
Here's a question,
but it's
then.
not like a week.
And they're making
fine.
like smoking, like you can smoke marijuana in smoking.
Any
That's what I
places
heard,
don't
yeah.
smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, you can
Now,
smoke
some businesses
marijuana.
will still say no cigarette
Yeah.
smoking in our smoking section, but restaurants don't have smoking sections anymore, do they?
No, they don't.
No,
Oh, but like clubs do. Like Rebel has a smoking area. It's like outside.
so they might say no weed in that area.
it
for
depends.
example.
Yeah, their discretion.
But you
Right.
could go. But so here, this is the important question to me. This is what really pumps down to me, and I'm actually really curious about this.
That's
You
probably
might
the
know
same
this.
thing I was going to ask.
Can they take it away from you when I try to go into a club?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
But they
think
can't
so.
take your cigarettes.
Even if it's legal, they can still take it away from you.
Because if you have a pack of cigarettes
what
and
I
you go
mean?
into a club, they
But
don't take it
beer's
from
legal,
you.
and you can't take beer into a club.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Oh shit, that's a good question.
Because it's a huge thing in my life, hiding joints. Jess is always like, do you want me to put it in my vagina? And she doesn't mean in her vagina. She means she'll tuck it in like the waistband of her, because no one is touching the waistband of a girl's underwear.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes I put it in my vagina.
you don't ever put it in your vagina, do you?
Right in there.
No, she's joking.
She's getting you a couple
Getting
times
really
tonight.
dry. You're getting so dry, Jess. You're getting as dry as that vag has been lately.
It's because from all the weed.
Does weed make your vag
I
dry?
don't know. It makes you cough, so I'd imagine. I don't know.
Does coughing make your vag dry?
Oh god.
We're learning so much.
So many things make your vag dry.
Something in the dry vagina. We can't name our episodes anything dirty anymore.
Yeah,
because
please.
Facebook and Google
Yeah.
get so mad at us.
I know. It's
So-
crazy. Like that's you used to have great title. Although the last one wasn't it titled like Cam Girls?
No, that was previous.
Yeah, so no, but that was
Jessica-
after
yeah.
he knew that, and I was like,
Catcalling and cam
you called
girls.
it something with cam girls. I'm like, you're not going to be able to
and
promote that.
catcalling.
But catcalling isn't a red flag word.
Okay.
Yeah.
But cam girls would be. But I thought
Absolutely it
cam
would
space
be.
girls, they might not, because it's like two
Oh,
clean
no.
words.
No.
No, you said you just forgot.
Well, then when I was reminded, I
Circle
thought,
back to the
Who
weed
was, what was the
conversation.
last?
Because there's
episode?
no way you would
Our
have
last
thought
episode was
cam
called Tales
space
from the Cringe
girls.
Keeper. Totally fine.
Yeah, totally.
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
And I ran hella ads, and I got a bunch of new listeners from it. So
Yeah.
shout out to the new listeners.
What should we name this one?
I don't know yet. But it can't include the end of the dry vagina, unfortunately.
No. I don't want dry vagina and my name associated.
What do you call it? What's the word with like
Oh,
pocket?
you don't gotta say it like that. It's not gonna be sexy.
Can we call it like a flesh pocket or something?
No, why?
Flashlight?
Nobody
What?
said anything about a flesh
No, because
pocket.
it's a flesh pocket. I put the weed in my flesh pocket when
Oh
we
Jesus!
try to
Don't
get
never
into it.
call
no.
that again. My pussy just got so dry.
What? No. Next topic.
My segues have not been good because all my topics are so far off from everything
Do you know who else's segues aren't good? The company that makes segues. Continue.
I'm sure they're fine.
No, remember you guys know the story. The guy who makes segues drove off the cliff on a Segway?
Oh,
Wait, what?
yeah.
Yeah, so the guy who invented Segways,
That's amazing.
he died by driving off the cliff.
Yeah, I
want to
see what that headline is.
Be hard.
And he
Breaking on a
died,
Segway is
right?
weird. It doesn't make sense. Have you been on one?
No, I never. I want to though. Isn't it weird that I'm lived this amazing life, but I've never been on a Segway?
Yeah, you seem like a Segway
I
rider.
do seem like a Segway rider. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
He
but-
died in 2010 from injuries apparently sustained falling from a cliff while riding his own product.
Bro, you live by the gun, you
Die by the gun.
So my next note
That's
is
an Instagram post right there.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson, Ariana Grande.
Oh, let's talk about it. Talk about it.
I'm heartbroken. About it. You called it, didn't you?
Yeah, I told so many people. I'm like, this is not a thing. People try to be like, well, like, no, I think it's a real thing. Like, it's gonna
You know,
be
it
real.
was.
I think they thought it was
really
real.
likes her. I'm
No,
like,
it was real.
They thought it was real.
but bro, we all knew
But
that wasn't forever.
It was fleeting, yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Those people, anytime you have a friend who like meets somebody and they're like, I don't know, man, and they're in love day 3 and like engaged day 8, it usually fizzles out in some crazy explosion.
I have a question. Do you think there's any chance that maybe, so she obviously really likes him. She's posting like
just
mushy
become
stuff
this
about
podcast
him.
right now.
But do you think, I know, right? Do you think that there's any chance that he proposed and she was kind of like,
No, I don't think
yes?
No,
Because
I
it's
don't
like,
think so.
because
I
if she
think
liked
so.
him a lot, obviously.
he liked her so much more than she liked him.
so. No, you have no reason to believe that. It's I've been watching since day 1, and that's not the impression I get.
So do you
Really?
think she was like, please ask me? Like, I would so say yes. If
Now,
you... Then again, she was quoted
she's
as saying
aware
he's the man
of
I'm going to
her
marry or
options
whatever.
versus where no, because things have changed for him now. But before that, he was aware of. I think they were both aware of the value difference between them from some kind of fame level. Which,
Talk about it.
by the way, doesn't matter to you when you're in a room with somebody and making eye contact.
Yeah.
Your Twitter following is not a thing in that moment. But I'm sure they were both aware of the fact that one of them was 25.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he
times
made
more
jokes
famous
about
than the
it
other person,
constantly.
But I mean, what I'm getting at is she was also aware of it, which is to Graydon's point, that her alternatives are the best looking men on the planet.
Yeah.
If she would care to want them, she could essentially have any one of the best looking men on the planet. And so I think that's a factor, but I think that's a factor regardless of the fact
That
that
also
she was head over
never's
heels in
been
love
her
with this guy.
thing.
What?
If you look at her track record, that's
Yeah,
never
that's not
really
her
been
thing,
her
no.
thing.
No,
Like
exactly.
the best looking guy on the planet.
no.
She kind of goes for like the quirky
Yeah.
Was
or
Ariana
the
with
bad
Big Sean,
boy.
too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Sean.
Big Sean's good looking.
Macmillan.
I also
and-
think in these cases
he's good looking, but I wouldn't say he's like.
He's not like, whoa.
yeah, like he's not like, oh my god, she's dating like the hunky Hollywood guy. you know?
Unpopular
Like,
opinion. I never thought of this until right now, and I'm not like it's not even slut shaming, but this is no version of that. But one might suggest that she might even be that kind of girl who like falls in love with whatever guys around her consistently, because all of these people are somebody she works with or meets in a. Do you know what I mean? She's like one of. Because I've had female friends.
I think
and
in the
girls I've
same
been
way
with.
that I do, though. You know what I mean?
What do
Like,
you mean?
Well,
I don't even know what you're saying.
This is what I'm getting at, is that so often a celebrity's like romantic history, and I don't pay attention. This is not a thing that we ever talk about, but it's like
other than Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson, which we talk about
yes,
a lot.
Yes, for some reason that really intrigued us. It's like people in their lives on and off screen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of, it feels very authentic. And in Ariana's case, these are like famous men that she's like come across in her career. And she doesn't need the fame aspect, but I'm saying she might have this thing where she like falls in love with these other superstars that she comes across.
Like wrapped up in the fun of it.
And then it expires, and then she's like, oh my God, action star that I used to watch in a movie. Oh my God, R&B
Yeah.
singer. It's like,
Yeah.
And she's young, by the way, which is what I did when I was 25.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm not even
I also
being,
think that's the celebrity version of being a serial monogamous.
yeah,
like
that's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
essentially what you did or what I
that's
did.
exactly
Jess.
what I did.
I mean, just
except
like dating
famous.
someone, then dating
We-
someone.
Yeah,
then
for
dating-
example, like
The reality is
I,
neither of us were going
I've
to meet
had
superstars, so we dated using apps or whatever, but she meets superstars.
yeah,
That's
and
the-
like
the
all my
difference.
relationships were like long,
to back,
like back to
like-
back and long, like so like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5
think I'm-
years. You know what I mean? Like
But your dating history
Yeah.
doesn't add up to hers as much. I would say she reminds me a little bit more of like some of our chronically single friends where they do like little 6-month or 1 year
it's like
relationships.
3
No,
months,
but her
6
relationships have been
months.
pretty long though.
Her one with Mac
That's
was
true.
the longest,
That's
wasn't
true.
it?
Yeah, but Big Sean, I
And
would
she's also
say was probably
young.
2
She's also
years, which is
fucking hella
long.
young,
Yeah.
which plays into all this. 'Cause
Yeah, she's like 24.
I made very different decisions when I was 18 to 26. You know what I mean? That I made between. I was
Did you see the
27.
stuff they were putting on like line about it today?
No, I did see Pete Davidson deleted his Instagram, so I think he's
There
laying low
and
for a minute.
she did too.
She's up, isn't she?
She took hers is up, but she took down all the pictures of him.
No way.
Deleted all of them.
I wish I wasn't. I wish wasn't feeling this impact so heavy. But the reality is, we're big SNL fans, and Jess and I loved Pete Davidson just as like this like black sheep underdog over at SNL because he was probably the least used cast member. He's one of the youngest cast members in history, if not the youngest. Or I think he was young. Only Eddie Murphy was younger or something like that. And so he's just like, what a cool cast member that we kind of responded to. And then so when we heard he was dating Ariana Grande, it
was like a big win for the underdog.
She's one of my celebrity crushes. So it's like, here's this like SNL cast member that we were even hoping would just get bigger on SNL, let alone become more famous in the real world as well. So we thought it was interesting from day one for kind of that reason. Like, oh, look who the fuck's on the come up. And we've been like doing the like hit refresh on his Instagram and it has 100,000 new followers. And
It's crazy.
It's been crazy to watch him. Here's an interesting thought. Let's say they never get back together because they did say they're leaving space for it. It sounds like there's some respect or whatever. If they never get back together, if they never even speak again, whoever he ends up with, wherever he goes, he is forever more successful because for a little while, Ariana.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not gonna backfire. It's
No, but
Oh no,
It's
he's
like-
fine. He'll be
it's
fine.
gonna
what I mean
be-
is that
yeah.
imagine you like hook up with him later, you're some
Yeah.
other person, and it's like he's literally 10 or 15 times more famous than he was because of his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's a very unique situation.
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it's funny.
interesting.
One more thing on that, and then we can move on.
Yeah, this is not.
Is
this
that,
not consume us?
It's funny that like a breakup with like that type of thing is so much more like I feel like they did break up only because why would you let it get out unless it was serious? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
I
like
agree.
if you guys were just thinking like, you know what, maybe let's call off our engagement, but you would agree to be like, but let's not tell anyone because they're gonna
No,
make a
they- yeah,
huge
they
deal
made
of
a-
it.
they made a statement.
They
That's
wanted to
okay,
make like a public, or she wanted to, or whoever wanted to make a public statement about it. So it's like it's funny that there was obviously a conscious decision to be like, no, we're gonna let this slip out. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they made a statement now.
I found it interesting that this is one of the recent celebrity couples where everyone talks about it and has an opinion.
Yeah.
Like everyone I
Yeah.
talk to,
I think it's
and
just
girls
because
I want
one
to
is
ask you
perceived hotter
this.
than the other.
I want to ask you this, Jess, because I have girlfriends in my life, and they're like, "Oh, he's so hot." I'm like,
He's
"Is
so
he
hot.
so hot?"
we've had this exact
loves him.
conversation.
Okay.
So did you see me reshare my post from 2016?
Yeah. Okay, you're a fan.
I love
yeah,
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
I've-
funny. Okay, I just don't get it, but like,
No, I get that you don't get
He's
it.
a very specific
but,
kind of dude.
yeah.
But I don't look at Pete Davidson and think dreamy. But I've seen similar types of guys be considered sex symbols before.
Okay.
So that you know what I mean? Like I've
Yeah.
seen that. I've seen the like skinny, sickly guy.
I like
who's also kind of.
I like
alive.
guys who have like dark around their eyes.
that's Jen said the same thing, and I'm
Jess
like,
loves like Adrian Brody and stuff. Where
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
kinda sickly.
Yeah.
They're tired,
but like rich
Yeah,
looking
tired,
GQ
like
dudes still.
unhealthy.
but they still dress well.
Yeah, exactly. Stylish but tired looking guys. Yeah.
I am currently that. I'm so tired.
There you go.
Yeah, Graydon went and
good
watched
look.
the Lady Gaga movie and has not been able to sleep properly
Yeah,
since.
it's just been
Emotionally distraught.
just
How was it? Was it good?
It was actually well done.
Oh, no.
It's just 25 minutes too long, which is a
Anthony's
lot.
a huge Lady Gaga hater, as he told you.
Yeah,
He hates her so much to the point where I
No,
actually
I
kind of
don't.
get annoyed
I didn't
by
like
it.
her at all until I watched this movie. She becomes very likable in the movie, and like her.
You can't bring up
You know why?
anything with her in it without him
Because
being like,
she's
"Ugh."
I think she's finally doing the thing she's good at because I think I think she's successful despite bad music. Like
10 million gay guys disagree.
But
they
Poker
respond to
Face
the-
is like a bad song.
No, yeah. To be honest with
like-
you, my argument is that first album is the best Lady Gaga music from a pop standpoint.
Oh, I don't know any of her other.
Oh
shit.
yeah, the newer
You
stuff.
do.
The
I
newer
probably
stuff
do.
got weirder and more artistic, and it sort of felt like this cult following she had like went viral. But the songs never got catchy again. Like, it never came around that non-Lady Gaga fans were in love with this one Lady Gaga hit. There were these weird artistic songs, and I just didn't get it.
Well,
Yeah.
so her
And so the
music
bigger
is
she
for
got, I
like
just, like-
theater kids and
Yeah,
stuff.
it
You know what I
is.
mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it is weird, dramatic.
So now that she's gone to
Over the
film
top
musicals,
songs.
I sort of feel like she's gone where I always thought she sort of should be, is in this like weird, campy, dramatic corner of music.
Her acting was really good though.
Yeah, no,
like
I
I
that's what I'm
was
saying.
like,
Yeah.
it really impressed, and it wasn't like I hate musicals, and this wasn't a musical. Like yes, they sing songs in it, but you're like, oh, the music's good. Like
Yeah.
you know how musicals, the music can be annoying.
yeah,
This-
it's
the
just
music
actually
was-
like songs, like
Yeah,
regular
and,
songs.
and like in musicals, they're singing about what's occurring in the.
Whereas this is just like
a
actual
song.
them writing
Yeah.
songs.
What's she thinking?
Yeah, like
She's looking at me
I
right
can't do that.
now.
Oh,
What's
do you know what me and Aaron listened to on the way to Niagara is a Book of Mormon soundtrack, and I'm like, oh, I think Anthony would actually really like this musical.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Book of
Yeah.
Mormon. That's the South
You
Park.
go
people.
see that with me,
It's
right?
The South Park peeps, yeah.
Yeah, it sells out like every time it comes here, but I would love to go see it.
oh, you saw Venom too, right? You didn't like
I
Venom.
loved it.
Oh, you liked it. Okay, I liked it.
Venom was I'm glad you asked that because Venom did really well at the box office. So numbers wise, it's doing just fine. Made like
Yeah.
$200 million.
It was the biggest October opening movie.
in like 10 years.
yeah, yeah.
It rating wise did not do well. I think the ratings are very, very unfair. In my opinion, there's only one aspect of the movie that was really, really horribly done, and it's the villain aspect. He's a great actor. Love that actor.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
He's an Indian actor. He was on that HBO show Last Night or something like that, or One Night or something like that. And he was incredible in it. So he's a great drama actor. He's just not believable as like an arch villain, like intimidating figure. And so that kind of felt soft and flat.
Yeah, I think they were trying something
Yeah.
like a smart Elon Musk
He just didn't nail it.
villain, but they
But-
didn't nail it. But
Can we talk for a minute about Tom Hardy?
Hardy is the man.
And his acting chops, bro. Because I think the thing,
he doesn't talk in movies, and in
No.
this movie he talks so much.
a lot of
It's so
people
good.
miss this point. And tell me if you picked up on it or if you agree. To me, he showed off his acting chops because throughout the movie he plays such a schmuck, and Tom Hardy is the opposite of a schmuck. He's like
Yeah.
he's the guy that when you like jerk off to watching porn, you're like, I fuck you like Tom Hardy. you know what I mean? Like
fuck you
he's
like
a
Tom
man's
Hardy.
man. So
I love Tom
you know what I
Hardy.
mean? So in this
Yeah,
movie,
yeah,
he's just
every
like,
man does.
oh shucks, I'm so sorry. He's just falling all over himself, and you start to believe. You're like, pussy.
Yeah, you
And it's
seriously
Tom
believe
Hardy.
it.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy's a loser.
He's such a loser. And
Yeah.
it's Tom Hardy
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
And then, so when he becomes Venom and he goes back to being regular Tom Hardy, and then
Venom.
it's like the two different characters.
Yeah.
Honestly, so often in movies, that's when they give an actor the credit when they say, look at the way he played these. And then this review got horrible ratings. I'm just like, did y'all miss the way Tom Hardy became a pussy?
Yeah.
That really impressed me.
That's
So Google
point.
users 95% like the film.
Hey,
IMDb 7.1, which
Not
isn't
bad.
terrible.
Rotten
Rotten
Tomatoes?
Tomatoes 31.
Rotten
Yeah,
Tomatoes
see,
is
fuck
critics,
that.
but I like Rotten Tomatoes. Like I use it.
But that's
I
a
use
flaw
it before a
because
movie.
That's one of my favorite
But
movies
check
in the last
but,
couple of months.
but check the
honestly.
fan review on Rotten Tomatoes because it's different.
How do I do that?
Yeah, just go to the website. Yeah, okay. So 88% audience like.
Cool.
31 critics.
So it's critics, and I also heard people are mad about the Spider-Man thing because the company that made Venom doesn't own Spider-Man, and the company that Disney who owns Spider-Man doesn't have the rights to Venom. So they're actually owned by two different companies. So all the fans are like, "This is blasphemy to make a Venom movie that Spider-Man's not in. There is no Venom
Yeah,
story
that's exactly what
Spider-Man's
the thing says. And
not
it
in.
needs a stronger attachment to Spider-Man.
But unfortunately, it sucks that this is even a reality.
Yeah.
But we just need to deal with the fact that they can't.
Yeah.
So unless Disney Disney might buy the rights to this
Yeah.
for a bunch of money. They can't. And it was so good. And the whole punchline, the world isn't enough superheroes, they really execute that well. And it feels like, because I'm kind of done with superhero movies a little bit, I'll still go watch them as long as
I'm sick of them.
But I'm a little
Yeah.
bit over them.
Yeah.
And so they kind of took that in the way that Deadpool did, but in a different way too.
Yeah.
I'm sick of
Where
them.
it was like an
as well.
anti.
I liked how
Yeah, I
Venom
liked
was
that.
like a kind of a douche. It was like hilarious.
Yeah,
like calling
yeah.
him a pussy, and
Yeah.
it was great.
And yeah, and the whole
I
voice
wasn't
thing
expecting
was
that
cool.
either. I don't know Venom. Like I had the action
don't know
figure
shit about it, yeah.
I had an action figure, and that was
Did you?
it. Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I went and saw it in 4D, my first 4D movie.
Oh,
They shoot water at you.
what?
The room fills up with like fog when there's like those those like spooky fog
Is it
scenes.
amazing?
It's incredible. And then also when there's bullets flying past them, like the sheet in front of you shoots like air past your ears. It was really fun.
How does the fog like dissipate? Because if all of a sudden it turns into like a happy scene,
They probably have a
little, like-
vacuum or
like a
something.
little.
Like vents on the bottom, and then they pull all the.
He looks like such a California skater boy right
Yeah,
now.
you do.
I'm a female comedian.
Yeah, pretty much.
Listen, guys, are you guys sick of dick pics? I'm sick of dick pics.
Oh God.
Who here
I
has
be
just
getting-
opened their phone and there's
getting-
a dick?
Dick pics. I didn't ask for it. Don't send it. Dick pics.
Just
been
to
used.
stand up for my ladies, I've heard way more guys talk about dick pics on
Really?
stage than girls. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can predict another common
Yeah. Do it
female
up.
comedy. I can't fucking think of one.
Can't do it.
Louis C.K. You think female comics talk about Louis C.K. a lot? I feel like they
No,
would.
men do. Women just
So
don't
out of guilt,
address.
there you go. I'm wrong. It's out of guilt the men talk about these things. The women avoid them.
What?
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, because I could picture a female comics being like, blah, 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 like, fuck Louis C.K., blah, blah, blah. Like, I can
No.
see, and to be honest,
I've heard,
rightfully so. a little
I've
bit,
heard
like,
some
little things like
fuck Jordan Peterson
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so, that's so unfortunate.
and Joe Rogan. I've heard.
Really?
Not
Joe
necessarily
Rogan?
fuck Joe Rogan, but I've heard some girls be like, oh, and you know the same
Joe
kind
Rogan
of
is
the same
not
kind of guy who
likable by
quotes Joe
a lot of
Rogan
women,
and blah
I
blah
feel
blah.
like.
It's just the type of guy who constantly quotes Joe Rogan. That's like
not
an
just that.
archetype. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Because I like Joe Rogan.
I
Joe
love
Rogan
Joe
is
Rogan.
one of the people who opened my mind when I was in my like mid to late 20s, and I kind of got me thinking in a very proactive, question everything type of way.
Yeah.
But he does spend a little too much time preaching from the pulpit of stop coming after us rich white men.
yes, absolutely. He
A
does.
little bit too much.
Yeah, and he doesn't have
He's
enough
not
girls
racist,
on his
he's not
podcast.
sexist,
Yeah.
but he's a little too focused on protecting that place.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to. He's fine. But he spends quite a bit of energy.
And also speaking
that.
constantly speaking on behalf of groups that he never has on, in my opinion.
No, you're right.
You say that, but I listen to him a lot.
No,
Yeah,
proportionately, no.
exactly.
He certainly has had on many groups.
Yes, he
and
has, because he's
often-
done hundreds of podcasts.
This is the thing, though. He often has people on who he severely disagrees with, and to that extent, way more than almost any other media outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
he
for sure,
actually
for sure.
actively seeks people out who he disagrees
But you're
with.
right
Like,
in that he could have more probably people of color on.
Yeah.
Well,
well, no, this is my
but
issue.
in terms of like having like both sides of issues on, he's
Yeah, he's
great
good at
But this is my issue: is the things that he chooses to talk about constantly.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about it constantly, stop just having your
yes.
buddies on,
So
your
that's a good-
bros
that's a
on.
good
You know what I
point. So
mean?
the things he talks about constantly, like feminism.
Talk about it with
he
a
doesn't have
girl.
a
You
lot
know
of
what I
that in his
mean?
song.
Like,
That's a great point. No,
Yeah,
you're
it's
for
like
sure.
he talks about it so much.
So he talks about social justice warriors a lot. He does not have any of those people on. So that's a good
Yeah.
point. The things
Yeah.
that he rants about, he doesn't have those sides on.
Yeah.
although
That's a valid point.
I watched have
I
you
like
watched
Joe
his new
Rogan.
special?
Yeah, I didn't think it was very good.
So I watched
We
it with
don't love his stand-up comedy.
I watched it with Jen, and I didn't think she was gonna like it, but she really liked it.
yeah, it was okay. I didn't think it was anything like revolutionary. Like, I
No,
was
it's
just
not.
like,
I think
It's a lot of what he
more
talks
important
about
than
on
he
the
is.
exactly.
podcast
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's
If you
just-
listen to his podcast,
you
it's almost
know-
just like, okay,
He's like, we're just apes, and it's only been
Yes.
300 years. It's like, yeah, or whatever.
What Joe
It's,
Rogan is a symbol, and I wonder if he knows that. I think he does, because what he does for people, like a lot of the time, even the people who love, so like a lot of the people who love him don't even like UFC MMA stuff.
totally.
We don't even really care. Like, it's cool that he did that kind of, like, to a huge percentage of us. It's more that he's this guy who doesn't give a fuck
Yeah.
and wants to talk about like kind of scary, important things like the cutting edge of health. I love how he's trying to get to the root of like, how bad is bacon for you? I'll talk to this guy and this guy and this guy and really try to like nail down on it. As a human and as like a man and somebody I worry about these things. I'm not like a health food guy, but I pay attention to Joe Rogan because I kind of feel like I'm going to stay on the cutting edge a little bit of like.
And it's also accessible, so somebody who's not that intelligent could listen to Joe Rogan
Yes.
talk about these issues and understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll have a really
sounding
smart
doctor.
person on,
Yeah.
but then he'll almost be the mediator and be like, "So what you're saying is this," and then
Yeah.
he'll kind of break it down to like what everybody could understand.
We've often
so I
spoken
think
about-
it's important.
The biggest issue with TV is they're doing so many they're making so many archaic mistakes, a la the last time on, next time on. These are mistakes to me.
Yeah.
A la structuring around.
Can you explain that more?
Yeah, so before an episode, like last time on, and then after, like next time on, when you realize that 80% of your audience is streaming. So we don't need you to do that. We just watched it.
That's a
Yeah,
You know
and
what I mean?
they waste so much time
And
recapping.
there's,
So much
and there's a synopsis. It's
Like Catfish. Have you ever watched an episode of Catfish
Yeah.
where they're like,
Oh, and
they show you
after-
what's about to happen, and then
Yeah.
they show you what already
they do
happened.
that on a lot of TLC
and then it's just
shows.
like too much.
And even this is the thing. Let's say because the MTV execs might argue back to me. Well, we don't have 70% streaming audience. 70% of through 30% of our audience streams, 70% watches it on TV, so that we need to do that stuff. Well, I would argue your fans are smarter because of streaming. You don't need to do that anymore. You can give us more content for that same amount of time.
do they want to give you more content?
The point, no,
It's all in editing, though.
I guess
because you could edit it to.
That's true.
you
know
don't
what I
need
mean?
to keep going. Like, for example, let's say there's a moment where
I bet you if you gave me the footage to a Catfish episode, I could stretch it out to
Yeah, that's
24
true.
There's a
minutes
moment
or
on
whatever it
Catfish
is.
where the cast member
without
runs to
doing
the
that.
kitchen and takes a swig of booze, right? They would do this. Cast member runs to the kitchen, takes a swig of booze. And then they would cut back, and then they show it a second time for effect. And then they would go to commercial. And then when they come back,
They show it a
two
second-
more times. And then later, when they address it, they'll show it a fifth time.
Yeah, it's too much.
The viewing audience doesn't require that the way we did in 1989 and 1999. We've moved past that. And to connect this back to what I was trying to say is that Joe Rogan produces with that type of thesis in mind, that he can move at a high level, assume that you'll fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
And the response is crazy. 1 million views in 2 days or 3 days
It's
sometimes.
insane.
And he does 2 episodes,
views
3
are-
episodes a day.
It's
and just
crazy
posts
how
them.
much content he puts out.
His
Makes us feel
content
lazy.
generation is insane.
Even his release schedule, he'll put up 2 episodes 2 hours apart. Even his release schedule requires, it's like zero pretentiousness. I put them out as we finish them. I assume you will think that's okay and watch them as you'd like to. Instead of being like, he could save them for a week, like the way many people do.
Yeah.
But I think he's a real case study for, he just talks to the person honestly, like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
You start to forget the microphone's even there. You try to have a profound moment with somebody you respect. And then you just film it and you put it up the second it's done, and then you go have another profound conversation. And instead of doing any of the pretentious production, he just focuses on the quality of the conversation, because even having 10% more appetite or energy to focus on quality instead of worrying about those things, even
Will
if all
make
you
a
get is
huge
10%,
difference. Yeah.
is people are starving for it. And that's one of the things that I think that is our thesis here, is that even when we have our friends over from our game nights, or we have my music business partners over, and it's not famous people yet, what people, if anyone comes here, if this ever becomes a thing, I mean, we have listeners we appreciate now. I mean, if it ever becomes a thing with zeros at the end of it, it will be because we have real authentic moments and we really talk about things
Yeah.
and drill down to things and like
Totally.
have like blackout moments where we forget the microphones are even on and get to the heart of stuff. And people are starved for that. And TV, network TV right now, not to be a hater, because I love TV. I'm not one of those all shit is bad now. I think it's great. Network executives need to really get off that, like, make TV like it's the 90s. If there's commercials, fine. Edit up to and find cool cut points in the plot, I guess. But I think that it all matters. For example, one thing I noticed has been happening on Netflix, not to rant more, I'm going to pass it back to you guys, is the episodes are different lengths. So like 38 minutes, 27 minutes,
Yeah.
19 minutes.
Yeah,
Because
Maniac
they
was, like,
cut
all over the
around
place.
The perfect place to cut instead of trying to force it into a 30-minute structure.
Oh, you mean the ones that Netflix actually
Like
makes?
the lengths
Yeah.
of the episodes of Netflix original episodes.
Did you watch Maniac?
Yeah.
Very-
Like, for example, one was like 22, one was 37, one was 45 minutes, one was
Yeah.
20
cut
minutes.
based on
Like,
where's a cool moment
Yeah.
to cut instead of trying to force it into a box, because it's about, if you prioritize the box slightly higher, the show's worse.
yeah.
And I'll watch both shows. I'm not a hater, but I'm noticing the difference.
Yeah.
When you prioritize the quality of the show above the making it fit in a box, it starts to blow my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the ones that try to fit in the box, you feel it sometimes. You're like, oh, it's like Criminal Minds is a good example. Where like I love in theory I like the show, but so often I'm like, we're getting to moment 32, cue the key piece of evidence.
Yeah.
And then, like, 30 seconds later, key piece of evidence. And it's just like, 'cause
Yeah.
to finish at 48 minutes every
They
time,
need to
Yeah.
have them.
it's going to be within like
you
2 or 3
feel the
minutes.
rhythm of it. I read an interesting thing that somebody said that these murder documentaries are like ruining journalism because they have to
Oh.
build it in a way that it does that essentially, and sometimes the actual story doesn't necessarily like lend to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like this is just somebody's opinion, but they just said that these murder documentaries are like ruining journalism
Oh,
because
I
it's
love
becoming
them.
so like popcorny. You know what I mean? Like
Did you guys watch the one where it was that like rich dude in the South and he like the woman fell down the staircase.
Yeah, staircase, right?
It's called the staircase.
And then that one.
We didn't watch the second season because they came out with the second season on Netflix.
Oh, I haven't watched that.
Yeah, we didn't. I think we started watching it and we just weren't into it because it's a lot of the
drag
same.
that one out.
They drag
way
it
too
out.
long.
Yeah.
It's so
To be honest, I felt the same way about
Making a Murderer.
not Making a Murder. What's the one where they strap the bomb to the guy's
Making a Murderer
chest?
2 next
Oh,
week.
that I like that one.
I thought they
Love
dragged it out a little bit though because they repeated so much stuff where it was like, "Okay, we get it."
I watched another series that just did one episode per case, and they covered that same thing in one episode. It was way tight. It was
Yeah,
way tighter.
exactly. Yeah, that's all you need.
Oh, really?
Or maybe
Yeah.
like I would love like 2 or 3 episodes. It'd be great, but like it doesn't
Making
need
a Murderer
8.
season
you know?
2, and Netflix is coming out in a week or two. I think next week.
Yeah.
And Netflix is making big promises. They're just like, the story's not over. Like, stay tuned. But granted, that's what the promo team would do anyways. But even doing season 2, I was a little like, oh, what could they possibly do? Because on some of the other ones, like I said, our criticism was it was just mostly, and there's been lots of media coverage, and you're like, okay, but no updates.
It's a continuation of Sean Avery's story
But,
or whatever
yeah,
his name is.
They definitely in the promo are suggesting there are like unveilings of information.
Well, they have to. There's got to be something to
We'll
bite
see.
on.
And marketing's so funny because they can just do what they want, but they will lose a little bit of currency if they play that game too many times. Where they're like, stay tuned for season 2. We have
That's the
big
whole
news.
thing. Is
Is
the currency?
Is that currency?
Yeah.
So I think that there's something.
They're
there.
now dependable. Like people are. The quality is so high on these Netflix.
Yeah, if you saw a little commercial at the top screen and it said Dave Chappelle's back and he teamed up with Chris Rock for this, you'd be like, oh shit, it's about to be big, because it's like Netflix doesn't lie to you when they're like, when they show you something that's going to be great, it's usually pretty fucking great. Sometimes it's a little shallow, you know. For example, I'm not a crazy fan of some of like the Iron Fist like Netflix shows and stuff. But,
But I think Netflix, the idea is that they're trying to replace television, so it's like they are going to put out some fluffy stuff as well. You know what I mean?
I'm okay
like,
with it.
I watch like a lot of like cake decorating shows on
I've
Netflix
seen
because
those,
sometimes I just like to throw something on. You know what I
But
mean?
you know what I mean. When you see a trailer or a poster and they say something where it's like ominous and like they're like leading about a season, if you watch it and they don't deliver the thing that they seem to be promising, it loses a little bit of the like, okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind next time I see one of your ads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because they are alluding to there's big news they didn't get last season.
Yeah.
So if it just turns out that it feels like fluffed up nothing,
Yeah.
we'll be on this very podcast being like, Making a Murder season 2 is bullshit. They just fluffed up something we already knew from season 1.
Yeah, totally.
Every person was already
It's funny,
talking.
how did they keep these things secret? Because
I
you'd think that,
know.
because it's a big case, you'd think that you would just hear about it.
I would watch a whole documentary about the Netflix legal department, because I bet you it's like a whole
Holy
building
shit.
somewhere and they go
Yeah.
hard.
That just blew my mind.
Because they're just buying licenses like crazy, first of all, and like working that bullshit out and renegotiating constantly. But let alone, those types of...
No, but I mean like because aren't
How
these
does it
things
get
public
out?
record?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know what I mean?
No,
Like,
me too, but I just mean they must have, because they've got probably some investigators and investigative documentary team working. So when they find something, they now that information is currency. Like they now own that little piece of information. So they probably have like all like NDAs already signed. But like it's like you cannot talk about. We hand it over to the police, but we'll get the documentary up by November, and it's sealed until this day or whatever. Also, I wouldn't be surprised. Netflix would have a negotiating power to say something like this to law enforcement. We have 200 documentary filmmaking teams working at any given moment. If we find out the information that's useful to you, which is bound to happen,
We will tell you.
we will tell you. But we need to have some negotiation power that you don't release that until we put out whatever we're making that got you the information. And for sure, law enforcement would be like, thumbs up to that.
yeah, do you think it works that way?
200 teams are out there asking questions. You're going to funnel information back to us that helps us solve various
sure.
crimes.
I just can't see them like coming out of a courtroom after some huge thing and being like, sorry,
Netflix
news
documentary.
reporters, Netflix.
I'm not talking about that, like not being able to take action. I mean, they seal up aspects of the information from a public release,
Yeah,
so that
for sure.
it would just cloud it from getting too publicly known before the.
But for example, like, so whether he gets out of jail or stays in jail forever, I should be able to Google that and find out right now.
That
You
will
know
be
what I mean?
No,
Like-
whatever they found out will be a statement that a witness gave or something. It's going to be like some witness who says this. It'll be something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And they probably then handed that over to the police. And great, add that to and do what you do with it, but simply don't make a public release of this tape.
Yeah.
Until after our release day.
Totally.
And it seems like the kind from I don't know shit. I don't know any police officers, but from watching the series as I watch, they're just keen to get those types of pieces of information.
Mm-hmm.
And Netflix lawyers would be really good at that.
Yeah.
I don't know who their lawyers are, but I have a feeling they have like poofy haircuts. You know how like lawyers always have that haircut, the one that goes like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Where it's like, it's slicked back, but it goes like up
But it's
first.
up somehow.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh
It's
yeah.
like those guys
Yeah.
and like suits that make their chests seem really puffy out here. You know what I'm talking about? Like puffy.
like
Lawyers always have like very puffy chests.
like they go to the gym, puffy.
No, I think it's more because it's like the tie plus like just like it's like all kinds of like layers. They're very layered in this region.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those guys, they're lawyers like that. What time is it?
10:23. We can probably wrap up.
What time did we get
I
started?
feel like I didn't say it very much. It's
said
okay.
lots.
Did I say a lot? Okay.
8:20. Probably it's been 2 hours. I
Yeah,
think.
2 hours. Well, I'm happy to wrap anytime if you have something we'd like to talk about. But I'm personally cool.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. Did you have anything you wanted to? You feel like we're
okay.
not
A
good?
soft dick way to end.
I'm just happy to be here. This was fun. I want to come again.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
going to come back often, especially once we get to a place where we've had all of the people that we know in our inner circle on. It'll just be like, hey, we're doing a podcast tonight. RSVP, whoever hits us back first, would love to have you come
Yeah,
through. Let's end on a sexier note. We've talked about it a little bit, but I think it's fun because when we put this out, where we will be while you're listening to this episode is in Jamaica.
Jamaica.
So we head to Jamaica on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm shooting a music video Wednesday with Aaron, this really dope filmmaker.
Oh, you guys go
locally.
this week?
Yeah. Then Thursday we fly to Jamaica. Listen to this, bro. So we've been watching the weather for fucking months.
Yeah, we talked about this in the last podcast.
Yeah. And it was calling to rain the entire time. The one solace was that we kind of figured this out, that there was like breaks in the rain. There's rains in the morning because you're starting to see, as we get closer and closer, we're starting to see the shape of the rain now. And it's like, well, it's going to be the night into the morning, but then it's dry all day and night that night. So that's cool. That'll be the day we go to the beach. You know, that type of thing. Well, we checked the other day, we were out and I'm like, oh, babe, we're like getting within the 14-day window where they start to give you like confident predictions of the weather now. Motherfucker. The weather gods shined on our positivity.
Yeah.
So we were really cool about it. And now 5 of the 7 days show 0 to 10% chance of rain.
Wow.
So
He said
almost no rain.
because we were good sports, that's why that happened.
Yes.
He's like, we know we were okay with it. We were gonna have fun
We didn't complain.
anyways.
We said
and
we're going to
then-
have fun anyways. And now it's like, honestly, like,
Yeah.
it's like sunny,
real.
rainy, sunny, 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 rainy, sunny, sunny, sunny. It's like,
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
like
fucking-
mostly sunny.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So literally, while you're listening right now, we're going to be in Jamaica. I'll probably even put this podcast in and listen to one while I'm on the beach or something. I'm bringing a book. We can smoke weed there. There's a nudist beach. Jess going to bring
What
her
book are you
titties out.
bringing?
I'm reading this book called The Boy on the Bridge. It's this cool
What is it?
post-apocalyptic book where there's this world where they are sending scientific teams out into this like wasteland to get bits of data because they're trying to just like kind of mount their comeback as a species. And I believe from reading the little liner notes of what's coming, there's just a boy. They just in this world where everyone's dying, they just see like a little boy wandering around. So that's like a cool thing.
Do you mostly read fiction? I know we're getting off
Yeah, I
topic.
know. I read a lot of sci-fi. That's sci-fi fiction, but not like Star Trek stuff. I like to read like the kinds of things that make really
Like
kind
dystopian
of dark,
future,
dystopian movies.
yeah.
I like to read those types of books, and also I read some other stuff too. But that's like my favorite thing. So I'm gonna bring a book. We can smoke weed there. Your titties are gonna come out
You're really excited.
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
the second time.
for
it's
real,
mentioned.
and not just because your titties come out when we fuck. So I will see your titties plenty anyways. It's our honeymoon. But I think it's cool that we can go down to the beach. You can take your top off and like get a really dope.
Oh,
like,
is it a like
Yeah.
a
There's,
nude
there's,
beach?
there's a
There
specific
is a
nude
nude
beach
beach,
section
yeah.
we can go to.
Oh, at the
And so you
resort.
just get like a really good tan. And it just seems like a cool.
I'll have to like play it by ear too,
No,
because
you gotta
if I
do
feel
it.
like there's like weed dealers all around, because I hear sometimes it's like, do you want to buy weed? Do you want to buy weed? Like constantly. I'm
But
not
if-
really gonna want to have
No,
my.
but if there's
The
a bunch,
titties
if there's a
out.
bunch of
also free the nipple, and I should be comfortable with that. I
That's
just
all
wouldn't
I'm
be.
saying.
You know what I
'Cause
mean?
It's not. Like, this is really not about like wanting to fuck you. Like I'm talking
Yeah.
about. It seems cool to me that while we're in Jamaica on our honeymoon, we can go to the section
Yeah.
of the beach where you can take your top off and get like the proper tan.
Yeah,
and then
that's the key, is just like not getting tan lines. It's nice. Yeah.
I love it.
That sounds.
Do you have to put sunblock on your nipples? Probably. They're
Sure.
probably really
Oh, no,
sensitive.
really?
eh?
You should do the whole thing. Yeah.
Because I'd imagine
Oh,
that's
think
going to be
about
really
that.
sensitive, because it's like never exposed to the sun ever.
You try to get your nipples sunburned, fam?
I don't know. Mine's covered in brown sugar, so I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's just.
Is that a thing?
That's what he calls Jen. Okay, so on that note, we love you. We're out in Jamaica right now. This is our man, Graydon. He's our favorite Egyptian. Did you get to that part of the last episode?
I did. And we didn't even talk about
No, we
that.
didn't talk about it. We'll talk about your. We'll talk
Okay.
about your
next time.
your
Roots.
your
My roots.
Egyptian roots. Have you ever done one of those DNA tests to see what you are?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Where it says what percentages?
Yeah.
What
it's
is
like
it? Do you know?
Northern African. It's like North African. It's
Wow.
like 20% or something, or 15%.
North African.
Or no. It's 25%.
Okay.
I'm 25%.
North African.
Yes.
I'm
That's like,
0% North
is that
African.
Egyptian?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, is
Egypt
it the same
is-
thing? Yeah.
Egypt's
okay.
at the very top.
Yeah,
of
I thought
Africa.
so. I wasn't sure though.
So,
That's how it shows you, and it's like Eastern European because sometimes they can't get it down to like whatever, right?
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah, they're just kind of dividing into like parts of the continents. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
So yes, our favorite Egyptian. I only ever knew one other one. He was not very nice to me. So
No, Sharif.
fuck Sharif.
Fuck Sharif.
This episode is brought to you by Graydon, who brought a joint.
Yeah.
If you are listening, we're gonna start a game, and it just goes on forever until we get big sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
And if you wanna
Forgot
sponsor
about
an
this.
episode of our podcast, send us anything.
Anything.
So it could be something useful or something not useful. Try not to send us something that's going to be like a pain in our ass. So if you'd like to do that, just send us an email to damagedgoodspod@gmail.com, or you can inbox us on any of our social media platforms, and then we'll give you our address. I'd rather not just say it randomly so people troll us. But I'd happily give the address to somebody who'd like to send us. You could send us your album on vinyl, or you could send us like a piece of merch. Like a
Can
t-shirt.
people please do this? Because this sounds super
Yeah,
fun.
And I'll be
it's
like,
so much
this
fun.
episode is brought to you by
we'll wear
this
your
band
stuff.
from Peterborough. They sent me this random tank top that doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
And I'll wear it. It'll be just like a fun game. So
Yeah.
if you'd like to do that, only one person sent us a cringe story last week, was my sister.
I was gonna send.
I got
some.
a couple messages of people
Yes.
telling me that they
Oh, I
loved
should have
it.
asked you
My
your
sister's the only
cringe
one
Oh, I
story.
have so
confident enough
many.
to send us one.
Do we have time for a quick cringe story? Can you think of one?
Callie's here. Hey, Cal.
If you can, it's okay. We can save it for next time.
Yeah, no, let's save it for next.
Save it for next
I'll write
time.
some down.
Anyways, point is, send us your cringe stories. I want to hear them. I want to cringe with you.
Yeah, keep sending forever.
Yep.
Cringe forever. Damage Goods Podcast. Cringe forever. Episode 18.
Graydon out. Cool.